powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys.
Call 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
The game is ended, and now we begin. It's Game Day Uncensored, Postgame edition. Real talk, real reaction, real opinions for real Miami football fans on FM 104.3 WQAM, Miami sports leader.
Welcome into the Game Day Uncensored Postgame edition. Thank you for being here. If you're here right now, after that, what was the final score? 33-8. After that 33-8 debacle in Indianapolis. If you're here with us, I appreciate you because it means a couple of different things. It might mean you're such a dedicated Dolphin fan. You want to hear us talk afterwards, win or lose, and thank you for that. Or it might mean you're such a frustrated Dolphin fan that you're here to vent. We are going to open up the phone lines on this episode, so don't you worry. We're going to get to your calls. Now, this Game Day Uncensored postgame show is brought to you by the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Get offers on select models now through September 2nd. Learn more at Lexus.com by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. Shop over 22 acres of Cadillacs built for luxury and performance at Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. Start your game-winning drive today at Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. EdmoreSawgrassCadillac.com, and we're brought to you by JM Lexus. JM Lexus has the best team in the business, a 4.8 Google rating with over 22,000 reviews and counting. JM Lexus, West Sample Road in Margate. Now, as this is Game Day Uncensored, let me tell you what we're not going to do for the next 3.5 hours. I'm not going to sit here and try to spin what just happened. I'm not going to tell you, hey, this is why it's great that that's only one game. Believe me, Tua's going to play a lot better, and that defense didn't show us who they were today. I'm not going to do any of that nonsense that some other shows might be obligated to do because of the affiliations that they have. You're not going to get that here because this is the bottom line. After watching this Miami Dolphins season debut, one where they lose their first season opener of the Mike McDaniel era. And the Indianapolis Colts, they win their first season opener since Andrew Luck in 2012. Did I see that stat correctly? That actually happened today? 2013. I was off by a year. Thank you. We got our guy Trevor running the wheels of steel, helping us out on that one. 2013 was the last time the Colts won a season opener. So, all right, coming out of this, here's my positive spin. Coming out of this game, when the Dolphins couldn't block, couldn't take care of the football, couldn't tackle, for the most part couldn't run, although Achane did some stuff late, couldn't catch, couldn't secure the football, couldn't score. Outside of that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Outside of that, it was fantastic. Outside of all those things that the Dolphins could do. We waited, I think, 265 days. It's the last time we saw the Dolphins. We waited that long to watch this football team lace them up and open up their season. And what we got was a debacle in every phase of the game. Offense, atrocious. Defense, not nearly good enough. Special teams, not nearly good enough. And a team that always finds a way to shoot themselves in the foot. You know, for one, you had that moment where I think it would have been the first third down stop of the game. Colts were in their own territory. Dolphins forced a punt. And then what did they do? They run into the punter. And it was 4th and 3. They ran into the punter. It's a 5-yard penalty, and it's a first down. The Dolphins also had a situation late in the game where they had 12 men in the offensive huddle and got penalized for that. I guess I give credit to Mike McDaniel for trying to sneak the extra guy out there because, yeah, it would have taken an extra man out there to actually accomplish something against the Colts. So, folks, honestly, and I see the comments coming in. By the way, not only are we live right now on 104.3 FM WQAM, and thanks for being aboard here. Going to be here till 7:30, so buckle up. This is not going to be fun, but it's going to be important, and we're going to vent, all right? We're going to be here for the next 3.5 hours, and whether you're listening to us on the radio, there's a lot of people live in our YouTube and Twitch chats as well. RVA Richie says Mike McDaniel doesn't make it to Spain. I mean, I said it earlier. Mike McDaniel, he should probably place a phone call to Billy Napier, the head coach of the Florida Gators, for tips on how to post a LinkedIn profile. Because you're going to have LinkedIn Billy and LinkedIn Mike are going to be looking for jobs pretty soon. This team, and look, I know it is only one game, but one game is what we got, and that was one of the most embarrassing season openers in Miami Dolphins history. Did this team show us that they got any tougher since last year? Because that was one of the big questions. And if anything, they've actually gotten worse from an explosive standpoint. Because, okay, last couple of years, what has been the Dolphins' superpower has been you've got a track team on your offense that Tyreek Hill, who still made a couple of catches in this game, but has clearly declined from the last couple of years. Jalen Waddle, who is just, unfortunately for the last few years, his career has been plagued by injuries to this point. Devon Achane is like the one guy that I can't really speak negatively of after this game. We'll talk more about him as the lone bright spot throughout. But, the Dolphins at least used to have the superpower, which early in the season, when it's warm outside, or in this case, you're in a climate-controlled dome on turf, the Dolphins offense usually shows out and scores. They can't even do that anymore. Not to mention at the lines of scrimmage, and it didn't help you that James Daniels gets injured early, leaves the game, was ruled out. But part of the Dolphins' problem is not enough depth on the offensive line. So the fact that you already weren't that good with him in the game, and it was very early, but then you couldn't overcome that loss. And then defensively, you're very thin at cornerback, and then unfortunately you lose Storm Duck to an injury very early in that game. And, bring in Rasul Douglas, who might even be better than Storm Duck, but you still lose a lot of depth in that situation. Miami, they're not tougher at the line of scrimmage than they were last year, and they actually seem like they're worse at the skill positions. So this is a game, and I know, technically the Dolphins were underdogs in this one, so you would have considered it a mild upset had they pulled off the victory, but they were 1.5 point underdogs, 1.5 point underdogs in Indianapolis, which, given that they were on the road, it's basically a pick 'em, or you could say maybe the Dolphins were kind of favored in the game. You go out there and lay an egg in every way, shape, or form with a 33-8 loss. And I don't know how in this game, or coming out of this game, if it's even possible for anyone to find a positive spin or a silver lining on the way Tua Tagovailoa played today. And this is another one. We talk about that superpower that the Dolphins had the last couple of years, and being able to score, being able to create fast, explosive scoring plays. Tua typically plays really well in season openers. When he starts to struggle, it's when, because football's a violent game. When he starts taking hits later in a year and gets banged up, he's missed some time in all but one season, or when the weather gets colder, when you travel to places like Buffalo, New York, New England, what have you, or you travel to Kansas City or Pittsburgh or something for a playoff game. That's usually when Tua starts to struggle. Season openers, either in the South Florida heat or in this case in a climate-controlled environment, is usually when Tua looks sharp. And this had to be one of his worst games as a Miami Dolphin. Tagovailoa goes 14 for 23, 114 yards, woof. One touchdown pass, which came in garbage time. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that touchdown he threw and then the 2-point conversion that came after that made the game 30-8. I'm not going to pretend that really meant anything. At that point, you're just playing basically for something. We got to practice this. We got to drill this, is what you're doing there. So that didn't amount to anything for him. And he had 2 interceptions, which were both, the first one I thought was just a really bad throw. The second one, a really bad read. 2 interceptions and a lost fumble in the game. So Tua had, 3 times as many turnovers in the game as he had touchdowns created. And that is, you start to question everything at this point. So, what was it, about 6 years ago that the Dolphins began their rebuild when Adam Gase was fired the end of the 2019 season. So probably January of 2020. and you proceeded to blow it up, right? I mean, initially, obviously, you've been through 2 head coaches in the rebuild. Brian Flores, who was he was a little too strict, so you had to move on from Flo. And then, you bring in the guy who's got the demeanor of the substitute teacher and Mike McDaniel. Everybody love. And by the way, Mike is a super interesting guy and a super sweet guy. So don't think that I will never take a personal shot at Mike McDaniel. And I just don't think he's the answer as head coach of these Miami Dolphins. And I'm not sure if he's an NFL head coach, period. So, Stephen Ross, was courageous enough 6 years ago to hit the demolition and reset button. And then we're now in year 6 of the rebuild, because this is Tua Tagovailoa's 6th year as Miami Dolphins starting quarterback. You're in year 6 or year 7 even of the rebuild, because I think the rebuild started a year before Tua even got drafted. You're this far into a rebuild, and now we're at the point, you're on this precipice where you're either going to have to keep trudging forward with half measures, right? The half measure, like, hey, we really feel like Jalen Ramsey, apparently he's a real problem in the locker room, so let's trade him away, make our cornerback room a lot worse, but it's an addition by subtraction, right? Because Jalen wasn't getting along with these guys. And then did that make you better? I know that there were a number of reasons why, a couple years, and you know what, maybe I shouldn't even go here, because I think highly of Anthony Weaver, but I also look at the Vic Fangio situation from a couple of years ago. It's like a lot of Dolphin fans were like, okay, Vic is gone. The players didn't like him. The game has passed him by. Like he's a Super Bowl winner in Philadelphia the next year for Trevor's Philadelphia Eagles, and the Dolphins still are where they are. But it's not to say I necessarily think it's a must that Fangio was still here. But you know what? Based on the way the defense played today, maybe I'm not going to get too crazy with the Anthony Weaver hype. But I did like the job that he did last year. All right, so I know we've already got some people lining up on the phone lines. I want to open those up and take some calls when we come back. The phone number hasn't changed. Like we are on the FM dial now, 1043, but the phone number is still 305-567-0560. So call us up. I know we got my guy, I think Cap for Life is already hanging on. There are other lines open, 305-567-0560. And you know what? If you think I'm being too harsh on the team, because I admit I'm feeling a little emotional, they still have 16 regular season. We're going to go 16-1, right? I mean, if you feel like I'm being too harsh on the team, let me know. But outside of Devon Achane, I'm having a real hard time finding anything positive coming out of that performance. So we'll take your calls. We'll be here till 7:30 tonight on Gameday Uncensored post-game edition right here on 104.3 FM WQAM.
WQAM, broadcasting live from the Ed Moore Sawgrass Auto Mall studio.
Gameday Uncensored postgame show on FM 104.3 WQAM, Miami's sports leader.
Welcome back into Gameday Uncensored postgame edition. Miami Dolphins failed miserably in Indianapolis. They lose to the Colts 33-8, and the 8 that the Dolphins did score was garbage time consolation points. I mean, few garbage fantasy points, I guess, out there for the fantasy football players. It was not wasn't a backdoor cover or anything like that, because the Dolphins were just 1.5 point underdogs. And they went out there and they lost by 25 points. So it's been a tough one. And we're going to open up the phone lines in just a second. So I obviously didn't expect the Dolphins to play this bad. I would have said, though, I did say coming into this game that a couple of players on the Colts did concern me a little bit. Tyler Warren, those who know me know I watch a lot of college football. And Tyler Warren was a big reason why, in addition to their defensive line, but a big reason why Penn State got to the national semifinals last year. Rookie tight end who really exposed the Dolphins. It's been a long time since the Dolphins were any good at stopping tight ends. Warren had, in his debut NFL game, 7 receptions for 76 yards. And he also had a carry for a first down on 3rd and short, 1 carry for 3 yards. He was a big-time weapon. And I was also a little worried about Jonathan Taylor. Now, Taylor, individually didn't light the Dolphins up, but overall, the Dolphins were poor in run defense. They gave up 156 rushing yards. Taylor was the leading rusher at 71 yards on 18 carries. And Daniel Jones, the Dolphins made Daniel Jones look like Daniel Jones, Montana. Like, he was really slinging it out there. A guy who, was an embarrassment in the first iteration of his career, looked really good. All right, so let's go out to the phones at 305-567-0560. Now, I know that the show is called Gameday Uncensored, but still, you can't curse. Uncensored means you can criticize the team, you can talk, you can say it like it is, but, please keep it clean. I know that that's difficult after a game like this to keep it clean, but please do. Let's go to Cap for Life on line 1. How you doing, man?
Hey, Donno, how are you?
Cap, I've been better. At least my Canes are 2-0 because my Dolphins are not living up to their end.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Bro, let me ask you a question. Is it okay to ask you this question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so today we saw James Daniels go down. We saw Storm Duck go down. I saw Waddle at one point go down. I hope he's okay. And I saw Tyreek get banged up a little bit. And I saw I'm going to show you who I am guy give up 4 turnovers, I believe. 3 or 4 turnovers.
3. Well, let's be fair to the guy. 4. 3 is bad enough, Cap.
Okay. 4, okay. Let's just say 3. Okay. 3.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give him 4. Okay. So it's 3. And pretty much at this point in time, we're not going to freak out because it's game 1. I know the floodgates are about to break. The dam is about to burst. Everything the next 24 hours, you're going to get it probably more worse than what you're going to get from me now, Donald. So take it for what it is right now. I'm going to be as lenient as I can because I know the scenario that's going to play out right now in the next 48 hours, not only from the local, but from the national, who will destroy us, by the way. So my thing is, for this team that we just saw to get their butts handed to them, this is the time right now. Unfortunately, it has to be week 2, but this is the time right now when you guys show us the mental aspect of this team. It's mental warfare time because right now they're going to give it to us. Everybody's going to give it to us. And rightfully so, because, I don't know what to say at this point. I'm not going to dogpile, but, man, it just seems to me like, everybody keeps going down. And it just seems like we're going to give a free pass if this thing does not work out. And I don't think it's right to everybody that pretty much invested in this team.
Yeah, I don't know how, if anybody does try to give free passes to anybody, I think it would be invalid. We've had, the same GM for, more years than I can count. The head coach is what in his
who got the personnel and hired the coach, mind you.
Exactly.
But let's forget about that because they might blame Garfinkel. They might say Garfinkel's in charge of that. So I don't know how that works. But if that is the case, then that's a problem also. Because as of right now, nobody's asking for nobody to get fired. Because that's not right. But at this point in time, when do we start asking questions?
Yeah, no, I mean, I the way I look at it, Cap, is I start to ask the questions now. Obviously, for as angry as I am, nobody's going to get fired tomorrow, nor should they. We got to see a little bit more. But now we start to ask.
Wanted to see.
Yeah, we start to ask the questions now. Like, is Mike McDaniel going to make it through the season? Like, I think that is a fair question to ask. And now you look at, Tua just started his 6th season, so at a certain point, the honeymoon should have been over years ago. If anyone is still, trying to make excuses for why this hasn't been better, I think we're running out of excuses. But yeah, I think, obviously I'm not firing McDaniel or anybody after week 1, but
we're not firing anybody yet. We're going to let this play out and we're going to let it roll out. But sooner or later, if this doesn't work out, are we allowed to finger point or no? We're going to pay more in season tickets and get less.
I think you are entitled to finger point, and I think to me, it is every fan's right not to renew your season tickets. And I'm not trying to tell anybody how to spend your money, but I am pointing out the organization does realize, I think they know this, that you can't expect to be selling out your season tickets every single year if you're not putting a good product on the field, which is, that the most powerful right you have as a Miami Dolphins fan is to refrain from spending your money.
It's the definition of insanity. I'm sorry to cut you off, but at this point in time, anything right now that's going to be said, and this is not no shot at you, but anything that you're going to say right now, moving forward, is justified. But for me, it's just the definition of insanity moving forward if this continues.
Oh. Well, I'm going to be here 3 more hours, so there's going to be a lot of insanity going on. Cap, I appreciate the call. Thank
Everybody
you.
Be nice to Donno.
Yeah, please be nice. All right, let's go back out to the phone lines. Anthony from Long Island is on line 3. Poor Anthony lives like several states up the eastern seaboard, and he had to watch this garbage today.
Yes, sir. Mr. Donno, nice to speak with you, my friend. We appreciate everything you do. Great show.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm 65 years old. I told my son 2 days ago, I said, if we lose this game, the season's over. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people going to say, nah, you can't do that. You have to let the season progress and all those types of things. I understand that. Bottom line is this. What happened today was not only disgusting, not only mind-boggling, that professional players, and Tua, honestly, should be mortified to accept the paycheck this week. Mortified. This man is not a man's man. This man gets skittish when someone goes walking around him because, of course, he has medical issues. We get it. All I know is we went from Don Shula years back to a guy that wears you could see his ankle socks on the sideline, and he's your friend. They call them culottes. I'm an old guy, okay? They call the females wear them. They're called. All I'm saying is, what happened today was just I won't be able to sleep tonight. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. It was disgusting in every facet that you could possibly think of, and everyone bashed Brian Flores. Why?
He's too strict.
Because he was too mean. Too strict. Well, that's what you need. What are these people? Your friends? And you know what? I love Stephen Ross, Donno. I love him. But this man has put out, oh my God, I can't even think. Now he has the Bucks. We know that, but that's irrelevant. This man has made the training facilities gorgeous. The stadium, I was there last year, gorgeous. Wasted my money 3 years in a row going to games. 2 of the 3 they lost. Anyway, this man, a few years back, when he had the opportunity to get Sean Payton and Tom Brady, if he had done it, went about it a different way, this conversation would be different. Then guess what? Even if you kept Brian Flores, I'm sorry, maybe he needed some time to, evolve into a better coach. Look what you have now. What do we do with this mess at this point?
Listen, it's. I appreciate the call, Anthony in Long Island. Stephen Ross, he's in his 80s now. I think he's 81 years old. But if things don't get drastically better this year, today was an awful potential sign of things to come. But if things don't get drastically better this year, and you know what, maybe even if they do, because I don't know how much better things can get. I think you need to look at another rebuild, and I think you need to hit the full reset button, because too many times in the history of this franchise, when Miami has made a change in management, typically they try to carry over someone, right? You keep the same head coach, hire a new GM. Now you've had the same GM. I mean, Chris Greer has been with the organization forever. He's been the actual GM for, I would imagine, close to a decade by now. So recently you've been keeping the GM and changing the coach. I really think that based on, it was the previous caller talked about the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same result. I think Mr. Ross, and I know he would probably hate to do this in his 80s now, but you've got to hit the full reset button, and I think you have to start it from scratch. And listen, man, I sympathize with Mr. Ross to a certain extent, because he has never spared any expense. Like he has done things when it comes to opening up the checkbook, when it comes to spending money needed, making moves. Have all of his moves been the right moves? Obviously not, or we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in. But like this guy tries to win. Unfortunately, he's gotten it wrong so many different times, and sometimes he's gotten it wrong in ways that I thought would work out. I remember how excited I was, 16, 17 years ago, right after Stephen Ross took over. It might even been right before he took over. This might have been Huizenga's last move. I know the timeline's a little foggy to me, but like when the Dolphins hired Bill Parcells to oversee the organization, I thought, man, this could be a great move. But Parcells, anybody he's been in charge of, they've done a lot of winning, and that turned out to be an absolute disaster. So, over the years, and listen, I kept obviously an open mind when Mike McDaniel was hired. I don't really care how long his pants are. Like that's not really my, I mean, listen, if you're going to wear short pants and win, I don't give a what. I'm not going to criticize that. But I do think he doesn't necessarily have the temperament of a head coach. He seems like more of a pal and a buddy to these guys than anything else. I respected him in his previous roles as, a run game coordinator, play designer, offensive play caller. Actually, I'm not even sure if he was calling the plays in San Francisco now that I think about it.
That's always been Kyle Shanahan anyways.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No. Yeah. No, he was part of the play calling collective there. But I mean, to this point, a lot, when he was hired as head coach, a lot of the old school football people had their reservations about his temperament. And then you had like the 30 and under crowd who love their analytics, were like, this is the best thing that ever happened. This is the new wave of football coaching. We don't need the Dan Campbell meatheads, Mike McDaniel. That's the future of NFL coaching. And it's not worked out so far. I mean, the meatheads have one up on the eggheads based on the way that this has gone. Oh,
meatheads 2, nerds 0.
Yeah. We still have trying to see who's next on the line here. I think Manny in Cutler Bay. Is he still on line too? Manny?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that's me.
You
All
okay,
right,
Manny?
listen, yes, man. Look, it's rough. I'm on the outskirts of being a elder statesman of the Miami fandom, okay? And outside of that 1-15 season, which was god-awful, this first game was bad on every available level. We got pushed around in the defensive line, which that was supposed to be, quote unquote, a strength. Negative 5,500 in a pass rush. We're supposed to have these Hercules over there. The secondary, we already knew what that was, but we were hoping that the pass rush would mask a little bit of that. They need to be ashamed of themselves. And listen, no one gets a pass. What I did not like for the first time in McDaniel's tenure, and I'm a fan, but after 200 days
and 4 people on your offensive staff have some form of coordinator title or had a coordinator title, you mean to tell me that this is the play calling that we are calling? I mean, listen, Tua played like what I want to say.
I know.
like 200 days, and this is the game plan you came with. That was an indictment on him. And he has 3 other coaches on the offensive staff. I think he brought in another one to help him diversify the offense. I don't believe Tyreek has lost a step. I mean, but like it and then there is one thing that no one wants to talk about. Although I just said Tyreek hasn't lost a step.
Uh-huh.
We have too many little people that are playmakers. If you notice, every time that Jalen Waddle and Tyreek get hit, they're limping. Something is wrong with them. They're just little people.
We need some big possession receivers. You're right. We need some. Where are the 6'3", 6"? I know they tried to bring in Claypool last year, which was a disaster. But we need to find some good 6'3" possession receivers.
The top 4 receivers on the team are little people.
Yeah.
So every time they get even pushed, they gotta tap out. They gotta go to the sideline. That's a problem. The defense was just a hot, horrendous mess. Now, what are we doing here now? So what? It's game 1 of 17, right?
Mm-hmm.
We gotta we gotta see what happens. But if Daniel, Joe Montana, Danny Marino happened to us today, I don't know when we get Josh Allen. Do we play the Ravens? I think we play the Ravens, right?
Hold on. I got the schedule in front of me. Yeah, we do. October 30th at home. Not that it matters. Home or away, they're going to kick our butts. Yeah, we got the Ravens October 30th.
On us. So, like, this guy became Joe Montana and Dan Marino all in one game. So, like, look, man, I just there was no redeeming. You said something about, number 28. Sorry, there's no redeeming quality in this game. Not one. And that is the problem. Like, I'm gonna leave you with this, because you got to take other calls to get you beat up. This only happens in college football. You got second and third stringers in the NFL playing in the third quarter. That right there should get you fired before you get on the bus. People need to get cut. Listen, we gonna send you home to Miami on Spirit Airlines. You're cut. Unbelievable. All right, man.
Fantastic call. Thank you, Manny. And what one of the last comments that he said there about it was like a college game. I couldn't have said it any better myself. That when you start to see, your opponent who's blowing you out, they've got their second stringers on the field. The Dolphins put Zach Wilson on the field for their final drive. You felt like this was, to stick with the college, the college comparison. You felt like this was Power 4 versus Group of 5, or in some cases, Power 4 versus FCS is how you felt about this game, with the Dolphins being on the lower end of it. And so, okay, they've got 16 more games to prove me wrong, but my impression coming out of that first game was this team clearly doesn't practice well. This team clearly doesn't keep winning habits off the field, because I am a strong believer, and listen, not everyone is cut out to be a professional football player, obviously, or a lot more of us who do what I do for a living would have done that for a living. So I'm not saying I am tough enough to be in that category, but you really need to live that lifestyle. You need to devote your life to that grind, to that preparation, to those practice habits. And listen, these guys are all professionals, so they should have that internal drive. Even when you're not, you should have a coaching staff that pushes you to get there. You should have teammates and team captains who push you to practice winning habits 24 hours out of the day. And the Dolphins look like they don't have any of that. I mean, to go out there and look completely unprepared for your opponent, to go out there and get out muscled on both sides of the football. And listen, I know I said that, hey, Devon Achane played pretty well. Manny is probably right to say, honestly, that there was nothing redeeming about that game today. And it's inexcusable, especially first game of the year, because there are no excuses that come with that. I mean, obviously the Dolphins aren't perfectly healthy. We knew that coming in. But at the same time, when you're talking about the overall general health of your roster, you're probably not, in terms of little things, getting banged up, bruised and busted. This is the healthiest you're going to be all year, week one. You've had over 200 days to prepare, to script for your first game, and you come out looking like that. It's a mess. And it's an indictment on three areas. It's an indictment on management, the guys sitting in the offices. It's an indictment on the coaches. And it's absolutely an indictment on the leaders and elder statesmen on that team for not holding their teammates and each other and themselves to a higher standard. We're going to continue taking your phone calls. I will have to crown in this one an offensive player of the game. We're going to have a player of the game, and spoiler alert, I'm going to go with a Colt because I
like it already.
I can't justify it. Like, player of the game. Now most of the time,
Uncensored, we have to choose somebody who performed well anyway, so we can't give it to a Dolphin, so we have to do it.
Can I choose somebody from another game? Because I did notice that our guy Jalen Ramsey, thank God we got rid of him. Like, he was such a problem. Jalen Ramsey made the game-sealing tackle and forced fumble for the Pittsburgh Steelers against the New York Jets. Like, he made the biggest, or one of the biggest plays of that game, the play that sealed the game for Pittsburgh. But hey, he was a real problem in our locker room. So thank goodness we got rid of him. We're only getting started here on Gameday Uncensored post-game edition on FM 104.3 WQAM.
Scott Graham here from Westwood One. Join us for Sunday Night Football Week 1.
Gameday Uncensored postgame show on FM 104.3 WQAM, Miami's sports leader.
Welcome back into Gameday Uncensored postgame edition here on FM 104.3 WQAM. I am Alex Donno, and we're going to continue to be your crying towel and your venting line for the next 2 hours and 42 minutes after the Miami Dolphins. They got embarrassed. They just got embarrassed, played with no heart, really didn't play well in any phase of football today. They got beaten by the Indianapolis Colts, who, looked like Super Bowl champs out there. I doubt they will. Colts are probably an 8 or 9 win team this year. At best. They beat Miami 33-8 today. And how about this for the pressure being on? Not that this gentleman, has any hiring or firing power with the organization, but when you start to see Miami Dolphins legends voicing their displeasure publicly, I think the seat gets hotter and hotter from Mike McDaniel.
Which Dolphins legends are saying this right now?
Well, I'm probably multiple, but the one that I have in front of me right now is Larry Zonka. And this does seem to actually be Larry Zonka's X account. It's, I made sure it wasn't like a fake or something. This is actually Larry Zonka, who sent out the X post shortly right after the game. I think 3:49 p.m. That was right when the game was ending. 3 words: unprepared, uninspired, unacceptable is what Larry said. And again, this is, one of the greatest Miami Dolphins of all time. Obviously, it's not his job to take Mike McDaniel's job away. But when you start to see Dolphins legends speaking out like that, it speaks volumes. All right, you guys are speaking volumes here on the phone lines. Let me go next. And by the way, folks, I know that there's a lot of you on hold, and we're going to try to get through as many calls as we can on this episode. Let's go next to Mark. There's a couple Marks on hold, so make sure the Marks know when you're up and what you're not. Let's go to Mark in Hollywood is with us now. Hello, Mark. Mark, you there? I'm going to say he's not there. I heard some feedback in the background, but we will move on. Let's go to Howard in Rockland, New York. Howard, welcome into Gameday Uncensored.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm good. I'm healthy. I got a beautiful, healthy family. My NFL team today, not so good. But other than that, living the dream. How are you?
Not too good. 51 years old. I've had enough of this crap. I've been looking forward to this opener for 200 days. And as other callers have pointed out, just totally unacceptable. They brought in all these guys, other coordinators to help out this offense. And I think we had 15 yards in the first quarter. Disaster on both sides of the ball. Obviously, it starts with Greer. You look at the roster that he constructed, it's atrocious. Look at our secondary. Half the guys were signed after minicamp. One of them last week, or a couple of them in the last month. It's pathetic. Your tight end one is Darren Waller. I mean, that's what you're right. You're constructing a team that you think is going to be competitive in this tough AFC, and our tight end is Darren Waller. I mean, what a joke. The national media has got it right. Our local writers, our local talk show hosts, thinking that this team is 10, 11 wins is a complete and utter joke. That game today reminded me of the Kansas City game, except it wasn't minus 30 degrees. It was perfectly sunny. So what's the excuse now? What's the excuse now?
You're right. They were inside a dome. It was like 72 degrees and perfect.
It's perfect weather, right? And we look like that. McDaniel, I can't listen to him anymore. He's not a leader of men. He's a babbling idiot is what he is. And if anybody refers to him as an offensive genius anymore, it is a complete and utter joke. This team is a train wreck. It's trash. And at what point, my question to you is, at what point do we blow this thing up and actually try to get some assets in Hill and Chubb? These guys are not going to be on the team next year. You're going to get a new GM, a new coach, and a new quarterback. Let's not mess this up again and miss out on a guy like Joe Burrow, right? We should be tanking this season because we're going absolutely nowhere. And if anybody thinks that we can beat the Bills or the Ravens, they're going to put 70 points on us because we just made Daniel Jones look like Peyton Manning. Okay, I thought it was Peyton Manning out there on the field today carving up our Swiss cheese defense. This is an utter joke. Utter joke. Mike McDaniel will not make it through. If Stephen Ross has any, cojones, he will absolutely can him, promote Weaver as an interim head coach, and hope that these guys can actually respond to somebody, because nobody's listening to McDaniel, and he can't come up with a play that's more than freaking 20 yards down the field for how many games in a row at this point? How many? This offense is horrendous.
I don't have a lot to add to that. I appreciate the phone call, my friend, and hopefully we get a good night of rest, and we'll wake up on Monday morning and think this was all a dream. Maybe we have that going for us. Oh my goodness. And just, okay, so I want to address part of his call, at what point can you and should you blow it up? Obviously there's phases to it. Okay. Let's assume what we saw today doesn't get dramatically better. Like, I'm going to assume the Dolphins don't come out and win their next 3 straight games, right? So, your next games, you've got New England at home, on the road at Buffalo, New York Jets, who were pretty good and competitive against the Steelers today.
Game, by the way. Monday night football.
Monday night game. So I'm going to say, Trevor, if the Dolphins come out of these first 4 games 0-4, I'm not guaranteeing that happens, but if you come out of these first 4 games 0-4 or 1-3, I think you strongly think about making that coaching move about 4 games in. And again, this is 5 games in at most, right? Because you want to, you hope that making a move, and like he said, is probably what would happen. Anthony Weaver probably becomes the interim head coach. So you'll give him like a formal interview at the end of the season, whatever. But if you make the move early in the season, maybe that's a wake-up call for the team to salvage something. And it also administrationally gives you an opportunity to do like a soft opening for your coaching search before the offseason. It gets you ahead of that game. And it sends the message loud and clear that the Miami Dolphins are trying to blow it up and make it better. And then at the end of the season, you make the sweeping changes after you've already made the one coaching change. So that's how that scenario would unfold, assuming things don't get better or dramatically better within the next few weeks. All right, let's go to Marco in Fort Myers. What's going on, Marco?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you. So listen, I got a couple of things here. When the schedule first came out, I'm guilty of doing exactly what everybody else does, okay? You start looking at the W's, you start looking at the L's, right? So when I looked at it, I was like, okay, I don't see the Dolphins getting, anything better than like maybe 5-12. I got a lot of lip for that. One of the wins was today's win.
Yeah.
Because you sit there and you look at that schedule, right? Yeah. And you don't see them when, who owns us? The Bills. Who went to the playoffs last year? The Commanders. The Bucks. Cincinnati got way better at the end. We got to go to Pittsburgh in December. You got to go to the Ravens. The Ravens come over here, but the Ravens, are a perennial playoff team, and they're battling out there with, Chiefs and them. Okay. So, I looked at the wins, like maybe, okay, Indianapolis, New Orleans, whatever. Anyway, today was a clear, it was just a clear thing that might not even win those 5 games this year. But I got a couple of questions for you. How long does it take? How long does it take to find an O-line, to fix an O-line on a team in the NFL?
Well, based on what the Dolphins are doing, about 40 years, I guess, is how long it takes.
How long does it take to prepare for a team in an off season and a preseason that was pretty bad last year? Okay, amongst the worst. How long does it take to prepare for them for game 1? When do you realize that Tua is not him? When do we realize that? And how long does it take before this locker room completely implodes? Because you saw, if you were watching that game today, you saw Tyreek Hill at one point on that bench All right, Mister, I'm not a captain anymore, and I'm okay with it. He was about to lose it because let's try to get it together. Come on, man. I mean, bro, this is not headed to a good place. And my last question is this. I mean, I don't know how much money does a billionaire or millionaire or whatever Stephen Ross is. I don't know how much money you have to lose or have your staff make you lose before you finally make a decision. It's like, okay, listen, these people are not working for me. They're losing my money, and we're not going anywhere. Because he came on CBS last year in that preseason game, I think it was with Bo Camper, and he said, "Oh, we're ready to go to the Super Bowl's the ceiling on this team." And look where we're at now, bro.
Yeah, closer to the floor. I appreciate the call. I mean, to be fair, like I'm pretty sure Stephen Ross is turning a profit, like he is making money. But that doesn't mean he he wants it to be like this. Like Stephen Ross obviously wants this team to be in that Super Bowl that he's talked about a couple of times since he's been here. But unfortunately, the decisions he's made have not been the right ones. He also, part of Marco's question was, at what point does that locker room completely implode? Like, I would say at the very least, we've had a partial implosion already from last year. Like maybe they were able to kind of patch things up. You're 0-0 before today, but I think we had that last year. I mean, Tyreek literally quit the team.
You had that last year's Jet game anyways.
Yeah.
Like it imploded then and there.
Yeah.
No one wanted to play. And it was like, deuces, like Antonio Brown. So
if it happened then, it can happen again with a lot of the same guys in that. Like it happened again pretty quickly. So don't be shocked about that. All right, my friends, we got the 5:00 hour coming up, and we're going to hear from Tua Tagovailoa. We're going to hear Tua's presser coming up in the 5 p.m. hour. I haven't even seen the quotes yet, so I'm going to go into this completely fresh ears and an open mind. And listen, to give Tua credit, I would imagine he had a lot of accountability and spoke pretty candidly, because I do appreciate the way Tua handles himself. When it comes to what he has actually produced on the field in 5 seasons in 1 game, I'm not really satisfied with that, but I'm curious as to what Tua said after this one. We'll hear it next right here on FM 104.3 WQAM.
Every Maya
has ended, and now we begin. It's Game Day Uncensored, Postgame edition. Real talk, real reaction, real opinions for real Miami football fans on FM 104.3 WQAM, Miami sports leader.
Welcome back to the Game Day Uncensored Postgame edition. I am Alex Donno. Trevor Harris is with us. Your Miami Dolphins, I don't think ever got off the plane in Indianapolis. They were MIA today, 33-8. Your Dolphins got beaten in every single phase of football. I'm not sure if they won a single unit matchup, O-line versus D-line, receivers, DBs, etc. I don't think they won a single individual matchup in this game. Dolphins get hammered 33-8, and it kind of wasn't even that close, if we're being honest. All right, so by the way, this episode of Game Day Uncensored Postgame is brought to you by the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Get offers on select models now. Learn more at Lexus.com. Brought to you by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. Shop over 22 acres of Cadillacs built for luxury and performance at Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. Start your game-winning drive today at Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac, EdmoreSawgrassCadillac.com, and by JM Lexus. JM Lexus has the best team in the business, a 4.8 Google rating with over 22,000 reviews and counting. JM Lexus, West Sample Road in Margate. Before we reopen the phone lines, because people have thoughts, and this is the type of game where it doesn't feel like just one loss on the schedule. Like, this game feels like a reckoning. Like, this is the type of game where there was seemingly no heart, no effort, completely outmatched football team against what I think are a very mediocre Indianapolis Colts team. I know there was someone in our live chat who was like, but guys, maybe Indy's really, really good. I don't think so. And even if that were the case, even if you just lost to the future Super Bowl champions, what we saw today was inexcusable. Because, even if Andrew Luck, or not Andrew Luck, what is this, Danny Dimes, even if he goes on, maybe I felt like I wish it was Andrew Luck in there doing what he did against us. Maybe if Danny Dimes goes on and leads this team to a Super Bowl championship, it's still inexcusable that you're this much worse than the best team in the NFL. But they're not. Believe me, the Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones are not the best team in the National Football League. And it was not a good game for Tua Tagovailoa. So before we reopen the phone lines, let's hear from Tua, who spoke afterwards.
So would you address this more as a lack of execution or overall lack of preparedness for this team?
I would say this was a lack of a lot of things today. I can speak more so on the offensive side. As we were trying to get things started, get things rolling, that's just not how you start the game. Interception, we come back out the next drive, turn the ball over with a strip sack. Next drive, we just can't get anything going. So, how do you build off of that is what we're looking forward to. We don't want to overreact. We don't want to underreact to this. We want to make sure we get this right so that this never happens again.
From your standpoint, why is it that when you do have turnovers, they happen in bunches? Do you think is it you pressing, or?
I wouldn't say I'm pressing. I would say it's part of the game. Like you obviously don't want to turn it over. I thought that was a wild comment. That I turned the ball over in bunches. That's crazy. It just so happened that's what happened today. Like, it was what it was. We got to move forward from that. Can't make those same mistakes, and just move on from it.
The first one, it seemed like there was after you threw it, it was high to Tyreek Hill. There was a tap on the helmet, communication with him on the sideline. Was there miscommunication on where he was supposed to be, or was it just a throw that sailed?
Not just a throw that I sailed on Tyreek. I maybe hung on it a little longer. Probably should have progressed on that. My feet were telling me to progress on that. Probably would have had Jalen on that throw instead of hanging there.
Did missing time with him this preseason at all affect the results on the field between you guys, the chemistry today?
No, I wouldn't say that affected anything. I just think as an offense, we got to get going, and once you get into that groove, once you get into that rhythm, I mean, And that's when things start happening for us, but we couldn't find it today.
How much of this was it's just week one?
Well, you never want to look at it as, well, this is just week one. We're going to take our loss like that. That's never how we want to look at it. And the way we lost, that's just, nobody pays. None of the fans pay, to watch the Miami Dolphins go put up 8 points and drop, and watch the other team drop 30 on them. That's just not what they do. So there's a lot of things we need to look at. We need to look in the mirror. We need to continue to hold each other accountable for what it is. And, I would definitely say it starts with me. And I think as a team, collectively, this was something we were trying to avoid. But could this be good for us? I don't know. We'll see how we respond next week.
The second interception, was it just you're not expecting the pass rusher to be dropping back? You just didn't see it get out?
I did see him. I was trying to calculate whether to two-ball it or not. And obviously I didn't two-ball that because I ended up sailing the one to Tyreek. So I tried to beat it with the throw before you could get over there. That was terrible. That's what it was.
You took some hits specifically on some DB blitzes, or what was going on in terms of picking those up over the guys?
Just communication. That's all that was.
And how did you feel taking a lot of those hard hits? One where you're blindsided.
Yep.
Another one looked like you might have to figure out.
Yeah. Feel good. Nothing alerting or anything like that. So come to the sideline. Felt great.
It seems like you're curious about how this team will respond to adversity. Is that the case?
For sure. I'm definitely excited to see that. Like I said, we don't want to overreact or we don't want to underreact with what the performance was like. We got to go look at the film. But I'm definitely curious to see, okay, I came in on Tuesday. I seen these guys on Tuesday last week. I want to see if these same guys are watching film on Tuesday this week. Like, I want to see how everyone goes about their process. I mean, same for me. But then outside of their process, how they go out there and execute what they need to do to be able to turn this thing around for week 2.
So the Colts were playing with a new defensive coordinator. How much of the film that you guys had did you use, and did you see anything different today because of the new wrinkles in the defense?
Yeah, it was a lot of what we expected them to run. It then just came down to the executing part, and it takes all 11 of us up front, and then receivers being in the right spot and me getting into those eligibles.
All right, so that was Tua Tagovailoa after the game. He got a little testy at one point from an Omar Kelly question that Tua took issue with. So, all right, here's what I was already trying to dive into this right after I heard the question, and Tua said to him, like, that's a wild comment. So I wanted to look into it. I'm gonna have to take an even deeper dive on it during the commercial break. So Omar, and I'm not surprised he asked this question because he had also tweeted about it or put it on his X timeline that when Tua turns the football over, in Omar's words, that tends to turn into a multiple turnover game. And that was basically what Omar asked Tua, like, how come when you turn it over, it tends to turn into multiple turnovers? And, you could tell Tua strongly disagreed with that characterization. So I was going through Tua's game logs from the last 3 years. Obviously, this year you only have one game, but the previous 3 seasons for that. And the one thing why I need to take a deeper dive is you have to dig a little deeper into the game logs to look for fumbles lost, but it's very easy to look at interceptions. So last season, Tua had just 2 multiple interception games, but I don't know how many of his games he may have had a fumble to go with interceptions, but he had 2 multiple interception games last year. In 2023, he had 4 multiple interception games. 2022, he had 3 multiple interception games. He already has 1 today with 3 total turnovers, 2 INTs. So I'll have to, the missing component is how many lost fumbles in those games. But, I don't know if Tua thought Omar was saying, hey, every time you throw an interception, it turns into 2, 3, 4. He took issue with that. But, it seems like there is something to that. to what Omar asked him about. And Omar wanted to know, like, what happens? Are you pressing? Like, are you kind of pressing and chasing after you commit a turnover? And, Tua didn't really like that question. He also mentioned at the end there, he wants to see how his guys respond in the facility, how they attack the film study, how they attack practice. Again, I look at what I saw on the field today. They've got another 16 games to prove me wrong. But what I saw on the field today looked like a team that clearly doesn't practice hard, that clearly does not devote themselves to preparation and all the extra stuff that comes with being an elite NFL player, because you don't get there strictly based on your talent and your athleticism. So much hard work and study, film study, practice habits, off the field habits that go into that. And this to me looks like a team that just skates along, because how you prepare is how you play. And you even remember, when they were having those joint practices 3 weeks, a month ago with the Detroit Lions, that Lions player was like, I don't think these guys practice the way that we do. I know a lot of Dolphin fans took issue with that, but he may not have been wrong about that, because this really doesn't look like a team that's used to going hard and playing professional. And it also doesn't seem like it's a locker room that's in harmony, because you don't typically get the disjointed, heartless performance that you got today if you're a team that practices hard, attacks every practice and every film session hard. You usually don't get something like what you got today on the field. It was unacceptable, as Larry Zonka said, at every single level. Let's go back to the phone lines here. All right, I'm trying to see. Trevor, can you just tell me who's next? Because the phone lines are so loaded.
Let's go to Patrick. How about that? He's been on.
Let's go to Patrick. You're on WQAM. How are you, Patrick?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. It's just sports, thank goodness, but it takes a lot out of me.
It's terrible, man. It's terrible. I'm out walking my dog, and I didn't even hear. I had my phone in my pocket, and I just lifted up my phone, and I'm online now. That's awesome. But terrible. It has to be the worst ever. One of the worst ever Dolphin games I've watched. And I'm pretty old. I turned 55 in September. It's ridiculous to spend my time to watch this team look pathetic. I have 2 torn ACLs, and they couldn't stop me running the ball.
No, they couldn't. I can confirm.
It's ridiculous. No game plan. No nothing. No offensive game plan. Just Tua. Come on, man. 3 turnovers. Ridiculous. Where was Sealer all day?
That's a good
Did he
question.
take today off on his birthday?
Isn't that how they do it in the Dolphins facility? You don't have to play on your birthday. Is that a Mike McDaniel rule?
He is the lamest coach I've ever seen. When Campbell was our fill-in coach, he was awesome. And I root for Detroit now because of that, because he's got the mentality of being in his player's face when they don't perform. It's ridiculous. But I'll always be a Dolphin fan. I started being a Dolphin fan when Friends of the Family collected Paul Warfield cards out of Wonder Bread.
Oh, wow.
That was a long time ago,
Warfield.
bro.
What a player that was, man. Ooh.
That's a long time ago. And, I go to the MetLife Takeover every year. It's ridiculous that I spend my money on this. But I'll always be a fan. It's terrible.
I think, and I appreciate the call. I think the way you said that, I spend my money on this, but I'll always be a fan. That sums up a lot of our lives. The Miami Dolphins have the longest playoff victory drought in the entire NFL. Someone in our live chat was mentioning little while ago that at least they are old enough to remember the Lamar Smith game. I don't think Trevor is old enough to remember that.
I
But
was in the kindergarten or the first grade. I know that weekend like the back of my hand. It's something else happened that weekend
so
too.
did you? What else happened that week? I honestly don't
Eagles beat the
remember.
Buccaneers on New Year's Eve. That's
Oh, okay,
why.
yeah, you're a big Eagles guy, so you remember it because of then. So the person who put that in the live chat mentioned they were a junior in high school and that happened. I was a sophomore in high school, and I remember that game very well. And if I had only known, in late December of 2000 that would be the last time I see my Dolphins win a playoff game in almost 25 years and counting, I probably would have cherished that a little bit more than I did at the time. Like I would have spent like a few extra hours
You guys would have
celebrating
been
that
less
win.
mean to Dave Wanstead at least. Come on.
Yeah, well, I was very high on Wani at that time. You're right. Like the next, it was like 2 or 3 seasons later that the wheels really started to come off the Wanstead era. Would have been a lot harsher. Would have been a lot nicer to Wani if I had known he would give us our last playoff win in a good second. Oh man! All right, so let's take. I feel like we're probably behind on a break, so we'll take more phone calls when we come back. I think we'll hear from Mike McDaniel later on this episode as well. You guys, let me know. How do you feel about what Tua said? I mean, obviously he was upset, as you should be. Like, you should be upset after getting your butt kicked 33-8. And, you know, he didn't like Omar Kelly's question. I think we're also going to try to track down Omar before the show is over as well. I know he's on deadline. He had some stories to write, but I think we'll probably track him down before we're done here today. You're listening to Game Day Uncensored, post-game edition on FM 104.3 WQAM.
WQAM, broadcasting live from the Ed Moore Soccer
To us on FM 1043 or on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps. Same great shows, same great games. Plus, you can use the rewind feature and listen to anything you missed. Go for it.
Now, let's get back to the Game Day Uncensored postgame show on FM 1043 WQAM, Miami's sports leader.
Welcome back to Game Day Uncensored Post. Miami Dolphins lost 33-8 in Indianapolis. Got to be somebody can fill me in if I'm forgetting something. But when was the last time? It's been a long time since we've lost any season opener. But I mean, have the Dolphins ever been in recent memory? Some of you go way back. The last time they got embarrassed this much in a season opening game. It was pretty bad out there. We do have some awards to give out, though, despite we'll get some participation trophies here. Our offensive player of the game is sponsored by Ed Morse Sawgrass Auto Mall, which is a legit awesome spot to buy or lease a car. And our offensive player of the game in this one, there's really only one player wearing aqua and orange that you can go with, and that was Devon Achane. 7 carries for 55 yards in this one, averaged 7.9 yards per carry. He was getting a little pop, and he also had a reception touchdown. Achane, he had 3 catches for 20 yards, including an 11-yard touchdown reception, which was the only time, I mean, that and the 2-point conversion were the only times the Miami Dolphins got into the end zone. So Devon Achane is easy choice here, Miami's offensive player in the game in this one, and also another easy choice for our drive of the game, sponsored by the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Get offers on select models now through September 2nd. Wait, that already passed. Get awesome offers at the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Learn more at Lexus.com. For that one, it was the Dolphins touchdown drive, which went 9 plays for 65 yards, 3:53 off the clock. That made it 30-8. At that point, you had a 16-yard pass from Tua Tagovailoa to Jalen Waddle on that drive. Tua had a 7-yard run on that drive. Devon Achane had a 26-yard run, his longest of the day on that drive. Tua capped things off with an 11-yard touchdown pass to Achane. So that 9-play drive was, and kind of garbage time at that point, but that was, the best the Dolphins offense looked by far in that football game. Let's go back to the phones. 305-567-0560. Let's go to Paul. You're on WQAM. Paul, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Like I try to keep telling myself, it's just sports. I live and die on my team, so I'm not feeling great today. But it's just sports. Keep telling myself that.
Earlier in the show, you said that you sympathized with Steve Ross, and I just wondered why. Because isn't Steve Ross the one that said that he told all Dolphins fans that he wouldn't hire Harbaugh because he didn't want to be the one that steals them from Michigan. Now, how does Dolphins fans feel when they see Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, the quarterback that his scouts told him to draft, beating the Kansas City Chiefs, and you're getting beat down? And what money does he spend? I mean, does he spend more than the Bengals owners? I mean, I know the other owners.
I think he actually does. And in terms, but like, and listen, I get your point, but just to double down, the reason why I said I sympathize with him to an extent, and I know he's obviously made a lot of wrong decisions, but he certainly has spared no expense on the stadium, the facilities, and in trying to assemble the organization.
Decorated the women's bathroom. I mean, wow. We got nice women's bathrooms now, and we got aqua seats and a canopy from Walmart. So when you're watching the game on TV, this field looks stupid. He's just a real estate guy. And in the hood, they call him Peach Cobbler for robbers because he's an easy mark. So all these players that want to just party their career away, they come down here because he's easy. He's Peach Cobbler for robbers.
I appreciate the call. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that was funny. I mean, but again, like, I'm not saying he's made the right decisions, but those men's bathrooms also look pretty nice. I'll give him that. And there's the stadium canopy. It does create that weird shade on TV, though. I'll tell you, like, it does make the field look bad sometimes on television. All right, let's go to Fish Out of Water here on WQAM. What's up, Fish?
What's going on, Donald? How you doing, man?
You're doing good, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm bleeding with the rest of Dolphin Nation. You know, I really just wanted to take this time to make this my sincere "I told you so" to all of the Dolphin chat groups that I got kicked out of. And you know,
okay, go ahead. Walk your walk, talk your talk.
I mean, I've been telling these dudes for years. So, well, let me start at the top. I got no problem with Ross. He has made mistakes as an owner, true, but he invests in the Dolphins, and that's really what you can. That's the only thing that you can ask out of your owner to do. Make sure that you're giving us the financial resources to succeed. He does that. Come down to Chris Greer. You're talking about somebody that's been with the organization for 25 years. We haven't won a playoff game in 25 years. At what point is somebody going to realize that the man is simply a bad luck charm, whether he's been the GM that's been in charge or he's just been a scout, recruiter, whatever his position was? He's been with us for 25 years. We have lacked success for 25 years. The man's a bad luck charm. He hired the wrong coach with replacing Brian Flores. I'm a personal believer that Brian Flores should still be the head coach. Chris Greer should have brought Mike McDaniel in to be the offensive coordinator or something like that. But you're talking about an offensive run game coordinator that got interviewed for a head coach that wasn't interviewed by anybody else. And we hired him to be the head coach. So that's next. And then the big I told you so is Tua. I've been crying about this dude since day one. You don't take a player that's had major injuries in college and think that he's going to come to the NFL and become a more durable player. That's first and foremost. Secondly, the dude is not clutch. Yes, you can win with him. Will Tua go 27 to 20, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception? Sure. But in those 7 interceptions, there are clutch plays that he just simply does not deliver to, that he does not deliver on. And he does not do anything to elevate the players around him. When you have subpar talent around you, you need a quarterback that can elevate the players around him to his level. He is not physically capable of doing that. We paid the wrong quarterback. We picked the wrong quarterback. Blow it up. Blow the whole thing up. Sky high.
That was one hell of a phone call. I mean, we've had a few really good ones on this show. That was right up there with one of the best.
That's number one for me so far.
Yeah, and you know, I know like actual legit franchise quarterbacks don't grow on trees, but I don't believe you give up and settle until you truly find one. And we're on year 6 for Tua. You know, I know that the Dolphins have been in situations up to this point where he's flashed enough in certain games and flashed enough when he's healthy to make the organization think, okay, we drafted this guy in the top 5. We can't give up on him. We need to invest in him. You know, he got the contract extension the previous offseason, and they have, you know, probably not done a good enough job, but they've, you know, tried to surround him with the talent he needed. I mean, there have been some years when the wide receiver core should have been stacked enough. The offensive line probably not been good enough. This is not me making excuses for Tua, because I don't think he's the guy either. You know, I understand to this point with the draft choice that the Dolphins invested in him and wanted to do right by him while you give him a certain amount of time. We're in year 6 now. And to me, this is probably the last year, or should be the last year, that you go all in with him as your starting quarterback. Like I'm assuming after losing to a mediocre looking Indianapolis Colts team today, I'm assuming the Dolphins are probably going to have a pretty high draft pick this year. I think I'm safe to assume that. I think if you get an opportunity to draft the franchise quarterback, I don't think we should be going into this year's draft saying, no, we're just going to address all the other areas. We're good at quarterback. They've done that over the past 5 years. I don't think you can do that again this year. So that's where I'm at. He brought up Steven. Chris Greer has been with the organization for 25 years. Haven't won a playoff game in 25 years. And yet, not only has Chris been with the organization that long, he seems to get promoted every few years. So it's like he's falling up the ladder. He's going to be part owner of the team and like assistant vice president next year at the rate that we're going in. Who's next?
Let's go to Chris and Hialeah. How about that? He's been on hold forever, by the way.
Thank you, because I was about to struggle to figure out who was next. Chris and Hialeah, how are you doing?
Hey, not good, man. Horrible, man. I haven't felt as bad since I guess when the Ravens and Lamar beat us 59-10. But you know what? That was we had a bridge quarterback, in Fitzpatrick, and it was Flores' first game as a head coach. Man, McDaniel is going in his fourth year. Tua is going in his sixth year, and this is your identity, and this is how you come out, man. On the first game, you're supposed to be. We look like a team that was just built like yesterday. There was no identity to this team. You're running the same vanilla offense.
Hold on. I want to interrupt you real quick, and I'll let you finish your point. But you know who the Dolphins looked like today? For those who watched last Monday night, Bill Belichick's North Carolina Tar Heels, that's how the Dolphins look. I had these same vibes watching today's Miami Dolphins as Week 1 North Carolina, who got blown out at home by TCU and looked like, to your point, they look like all their players just met today is how the Dolphins looked.
Yeah, the players look like they're just here to collect checks. There's no leadership. There's no fire. The head coach isn't yelling at anyone. He just gives you that cold face or that stink face that he doesn't want to talk to you. I mean, there's nothing positive to be about this team, and Greer is in his ninth year, 2016. He was the general. He's his third, fourth. He's gonna, if he's still the GM, he's gonna be hiring his fourth head coach because he failed with Gase, he failed with Flores, he failed with McDaniels now, and he hasn't drafted any Hall of Fame players in those 9 years or anybody coming close to that. So that's my point, man. It's horrible.
Yeah, it is horrible. And thank you. And listen, there were, man, I went after we come back, I want to read a few lines. Barry Jackson wrote a column in the Herald shortly after the game, and he took a blowtorch to the organization, and I was fist pumping while reading it. I want to share some of that with you, but like he mentioned, Stephen Ross should have gotten pretty suspicious of the job Chris Grier is doing when he drafted Charles Harris in the first round and seen what an epic bust that guy turned out to be. Like that should have been a legitimate strike against the tenure of your general manager. And, when he, I don't think Barry put this in the article, but somebody else pointed out in our chat that, they went against the advice of their scouts and they took Tua over Justin Herbert. And listen, I know the Tua defenders like, well, Herbert hasn't won anything. That guy's overrated. I'll take what I saw on what was it, Friday night, right, from Herbert.
Take Thursday night too. Anyways, you should take him as also well. He looks pretty good too.
Yeah, sure. And obviously, something Barry did point out in his article was Chris Grier, in Barry's words, made the mistake of bringing in Ryan Fitzpatrick for the tank season, who was way too good to actually tank properly. Like he also put that on Grier, which I don't know if I agree with that point. Because you're still, you still owe it to the other players on your roster, and you owe it to Brian Flores at that point, who gets judged by every win and loss. I think you still owe it to pick up a decent quarterback if you can find one. But a lot of Dolphin fans do feel that way, that they should have never signed Ryan Fitzpatrick because he was too good to lose enough games. All right, we'll continue. We'll wrap up the 5 o'clock hour when we come back. We also have a player of the game to award, and it's not going to be a Dolphin. You want to keep it locked right here. FM 104.3 WQAM.
Odyssey and WQAM present I'm Listening, a special
Welcome back into Gameday Uncensored post-game edition. I am Alex Donno, and I am angry about our Miami Dolphins. That this is year 6 of the rebuild. Somehow we're building it backwards. Like, this team is getting worse to the point where you've got to start a whole new rebuild to correct the rebuild that has been going on for the past 6 years. The entire team was terrible today. No effort, no heart. Unacceptable was one of the words that Larry Zonka used to describe this performance. Tua Tagovailoa included in that. So as we crown our player of the game, sponsored by JM Lexus, JM Lexus has the best team in the business. A 4.8 Google rating with over 22,000 reviews and counting. JM Lexus, West Sample Road in Margate. And since JM Lexus is so awesome, we can't possibly give our player of the game award to a Miami Dolphin today. So we're going with an Indianapolis Colt. And man, I could go a couple of different directions on this one, including Tyler Warren, the rookie tight end, who, as I kind of thought he would be, was a mismatch and had a really good game against the Dolphins. But I will officially give it to Daniel Jones. And I used to laugh when people would refer to him as Danny Dimes, but I think you can do it. Have at it today. You can call him Danny Dimes, at least for this week. You call him Danny Dimes again. 22
like the
for
quarterback
20.
we all hyped up from Duke finally. So he delivered.
Yeah, I mean, I would say always buyer beware when you draft a quarterback from Duke. The Giants should have seen that coming. But Daniel Jones today, 22 for 29, 272 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interception. Made some big-time throws in this game. Michael Pittman Jr. was on the receiving end of 6 of those for 80 yards and a touchdown. The aforementioned Tyler Warren caught 7 of his passes for 76 yards. Daniel Jones also had 7 rushes for 26 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground to go with his passing touchdown. So a 3-touchdown day, no turnovers for Danny Dimes. He gets our player of the game today, sponsored by JM Lexus. Robert Robel says, hey, let's ask Nat Moore. Was this acceptable today? I mean, we already had Larry Zonka already spoke out. And I just want folks to know that when the 6 o'clock hour begins, which is coming up shortly, we're going to reopen the phone lines. I think every line is juiced, which is awesome. We get more effort from the callers than we got from the Miami Dolphins today. So we're going to run as rapid fire as we possibly can through a bunch of calls at the 6 o'clock hour. I mentioned Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald wrote a column very, very critical of ownership under Stephen Ross and of Chris Greer, the Dolphins general manager. So Barry Jackson says there's enough blame to fill what's left of the world's melting glaciers after his this debacle of an opener in which the Dolphins were dominated 33-8 by a mediocre Colts team and looks further from contention than any time this decade, he said. Blame 10-year general manager Chris Greer for frittering away a treasure trove of resources, failing to build a team that can win a single playoff game, and constructing a 2025 roster with more holes than clothes in a moth-infested closet. Blame Mike McDaniel and his staff for not having this team remotely prepared for its opener and offering no suitable answers in more than a year for a too-high safety look that has been around forever. Blame the quarterback for delivering a stinker in the opener, raising more doubts about whether Tua Tagovailoa can take any team deep into the playoffs. But you know where the proverbial buck stops with a franchise that hasn't won anything meaningful in a quarter century? The guy who has signed the check since 2009, Barry says. Steve Ross is well-intentioned, philanthropic, and willing to give his front office whatever it needs to win. He has spent endlessly to foster an environment that has led the Dolphins receiving 2 consecutive first-place honors in the NFL Players Union annual report card, rewarding them for the poshness of their facilities, the comfort of their airplane, and the elegance of their training room. But Ross's patience with an underperforming front office has gone from restrained and disciplined to reckless and unjustified, making him look increasingly clueless about what it takes to win in the NFL. We wrote after last year's season finale that Ross might be one of the most patient men on earth for continuing to overlook bad decision after bad decision and offering his GM more second chances than the woman who keeps giving her boyfriend a mulligan for cheating on her. Ross, 85, he writes, this is what I referenced earlier, should have started wondering about Greer's competence a year after the team drafted bust Charles Harris over perennial Pro Bowler TJ Watt in 2017. Greer and the Dolphins were worried that Watt's excellence at Wisconsin was limited to one season, according to a team source. Ross should have become more suspicious after Greer signed a quarterback, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was clearly too good to achieve the owner's goal of being able to select the best quarterback in the 2019 draft, instead of hiring a quarterback far more tank-worthy like Josh Johnson, who would have dramatically increased the likelihood of landing first overall pick Joe Burrow. So it goes on, but listen, he's, you're starting to see, and Barry is probably, the top most read like local sports columnist down here, and he starts going after ownership. It could get ugly. All right, so we'll start off the 6 o'clock hour. When we come back, we'll open the phone lines. 305-567-0560 is how you reach us. We're here talking you through this Dolphins loss, and it was a bad one, on FM 104.3 WQAM.
Clear.
Hey, we want to hear what you have to say.
For the deck.
QAM on the Kendall Tour.
We begin. It's Game Day Uncensored, Postgame edition. Real talk, real reaction, real opinions for real Miami football fans on FM 104.3 WQAM, Miami sports leader.
Oh, what a tough debut for your 2025 Miami Dolphins. That wasn't just a loss. It makes you question everything about the direction this franchise is going in, if you weren't questioning it already. But again, new season, first game of the year. If you had any hopes that, hey, maybe the Dolphins get their you-know-what together, and maybe this is the year that we can make a run. You still have 16 more opportunities in the regular season. But if today was any sign of it, going to a mediocre Indianapolis Colts team, because no, I don't think the Colts are a Super Bowl contender. I think they're, a fringe playoff team at best. Go into their house, you lose 33-8. It's not a good sign of things to come. Before we open up the phone lines, I want to bring this up. Our guy, Omar Kelly, he's got the receipts. So we played for you a little earlier, about an hour ago, Tua Tagovailoa's post-game presser, where Omar asked him a couple questions, including Omar made the statement to Tua that how come when you turn the ball over, it tends to happen in bunches? Why are you pressing? Why is it that one turnover can turn into multiple turnovers? And Tua took issue with the question. He said, I think his words were, that's a wild statement to Omar. And, I took a little bit of a look on it, on multiple interception games that Tua has thrown over the past, 3 seasons. And, there were a handful of them, but I have to take a deeper dive to see fumbles as well. Well, Omar Kelly did the research and he's got the receipts on it. So here's the actual stat. Omar put this out. Today was the 7th time that Tua has committed at least 3 turnovers in a game since 2020, according to ESPN research. The only quarterback to do it more in the same time span is Trevor Lawrence with 8. There's only one who's had more 3 turnover games than Tua since 20. And Trevor Lawrence hasn't even been in the league as long as Tua has. Tua's got an extra year on him, right? Omar continues, Tua has lost a fumble and thrown multiple interceptions 4 times and done it in 2 of his last 3 games. So that's your actual stat when it comes to the multiple turnover games. All right, let's go back out to the phone lines. Let's talk to Rick in Miami. What's going on, Rick?
Not you.
Mike and
Hey,
Phoenix.
Rick.
Mike and Phoenix.
Oh, Mike and Phoenix. Hey, Mike and Phoenix. Hello. My bad.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for taking my call, bud. Hey, my question is, how is any Dolphins fan on the planet not surprised by this? What gave you any indication at the beginning of the season or at the end of last year when Ross comes out with a statement 10 minutes after the game? This franchise is the biggest heaping pile of dysfunctional crap I've ever seen. I'm 61 years old, and I've seen enough of this crap to last me a lifetime. I don't even think they're going to make another playoff win before I die.
Did you see, and I'm sure a lot of the people listening to this saw this, so there was somebody had ChatGPT run a simulation of the next 100 Super Bowl winners, and they didn't give a single Super Bowl to the Miami Dolphins in the next 100 years. ChatGPT came out with like new expansion franchises that would come in and win the Super Bowl before I think there's going to be a team in Paris in 30 years that wins a Super Bowl, but the Dolphins will not.
I'm not surprised, Donald, but it starts at the top, and Ross is the most dysfunctional owner I think I've ever seen, bar none. It's like you don't come out with a statement 10 minutes after the season is over and say everybody is coming back. You stop, you look at the situation, and you think about what moves need to be made. This franchise, I'm 61, and I can't believe what I'm seeing out of this franchise. We were royalty, and I was 8 years old when they won the Super Bowl, and I'm never going to see it again. Ashamedly, I can't believe it.
You peaked at 8 years old. That was it.
That was it. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you so much. You had your whole life in front of you at 8. You thought you did. And then 60 or 53 years later, the Dolphins still haven't won anything since the last Super Bowl. Oh, my God. Who is Trevor? Who should I go to?
Let's go to Abel. He's a classic Miami caller. I've been told this by everybody. So let's
Yes,
go to Abel.
Abel is the freaking man. How are you, Abel?
Oh man, Donno. I mean, what can I tell you, brother? What can I tell you? I mean, the fact that it ruined my Sunday. I was already excited. I had a great Saturday. How about those USF Bulls? I know Danny Rabinowitz is probably still hasn't gone off his cloud, but don't worry, he's going to come back to earth on Saturday. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Like the last caller said, you should not be surprised by this performance because what did they do this entire offseason? 10 minutes after the whole Tyreek said he was out, they come out with that stupid statement. Stephen Ross, he does not care. People are saying, well, we're going to do a rebuild again. Well, we did one in 2019, and even that first week loss against Baltimore wasn't as bad or embarrassing as today was because we actually were expecting to be a crappy team that year. But today we're not. And what are you going to do? A blowout? A blowout, okay, what? If you're going to promote somebody that's been in the franchise for 25 years, you're going to put him GM, you're going to do something that's going to be like, let's just do status quo because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want to do this to somebody. Come on, man. Enough is enough, and it all starts at the top. But you know what? Stephen Ross doesn't care because he's banking, making all that money with the F1, charging $450 for a parking spot, charging $3,000 for a root beer at the F1. He does not care. He's making his money. If he was serious about this, Creer would have been gone 2 seasons ago, and McGenius would have been gone last year when we lost to the freaking Bills to win the AFC East in 2023 season. It's a complete joke. It's an embarrassment, but nothing new, and that's the unfortunate part. I'm 33 years old. I'm telling you, brother, I am not going to be seeing a Super Bowl.
You're right. I cannot. I mean, it's going to be at least 100 years, according to the all-knowing AI. And you can see, Trevor, do you understand now why Abel is a legend?
I had to rack that guy. That's called the night so far next to the guy in Atlanta. So
rack him. at least
let's go to Rick and
my entire weekend was not a total loss. I mean, you know, I got to watch my Miami Hurricanes pull off, you know, an expected easy win. I got to see some true freshmen step up. Bryce Fitzgerald had a big interception, true freshman safety. Gerard Pringle, true freshman running back, got a 30-yard touchdown in that game. Carson Beck, he looks legit. I mean, obviously, you put more stock into what he did against Notre Dame. But Bethune-Cookman, he completed his first 15 passes. Hadn't been done by any Miami Hurricanes quarterback. 14 for 14, Vinny Testaverde went back in 1986. So, you know, my Canes took care of business. Abel also brought up South Florida, upsetting the Gators in the Swamp, which it couldn't happen to a more obnoxious fan base. And I know there's probably some Gator fans listening to this because the Miami Dolphins, you know, there's Miami Dolphins, there's Miami Hurricanes fans, Florida State Seminoles fans, Gator fans who love the Dolphins. I get it. I'm sorry you're catching some shrapnel here, but I had to listen all season long about how generational DJ Lagway is, who stunk up the joint yesterday. Y'all have some very short memories because 5 or 6 weeks into the season last year, you were literally raising money to buy out Billy Napier. And then he wins a couple of games, and then your boosters made the decision. We already raised all this money for the Billy buyout fund. Let's give him another year, and let's spend all of this money on NIL. And yet you're still stuck with Billy Napier, who choked the big one yesterday. So let's, you know, and you know, I know Gators are going to have their opportunity against my Miami Hurricanes in a couple of weeks. USF, which won't be an easy game next week. So I'm going to talk my talk right now. We'll see if my Hurricanes can live up to it. But, you know, seeing USF pull that off yesterday, brought a little smile to my face. I'm not going to lie about that. And then, you know, Miami Dolphins have to kick me right in the teeth today is what they did.
You want who's not going to kick us in the teeth? Rick from Coral Springs.
Let's talk with Rick. What's going on, Rick? He is kicking me in the teeth. I don't know where he is.
Rick, what you're on?
Rick.
That's we'll
move on to whoever's next. Who else we got? 305-567-0560. 305-567-0560.
Line 7, you're on. Go.
Let's go.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Rick, 61 years old. I've been a Dolphin fan since I was 5 years old. Greer's got to go, and I don't want to die without seeing the Dolphins win a Super Bowl, guys. I won't blame the players, but I will blame the coach.
I mean, blame everyone, Rick, I think is the answer. You could blame the players for not playing with any heart or effort whatsoever. Blame the coaches for setting that tone, and blame ownership for hiring and signing all of them.
Yeah. Go Dolphins, though. I'm a Dolphin fan till I die.
I mean, at this point, we're in, right? I mean, he's 61 years old. I'm going to be 41 in a couple of weeks. Like, I'm too old to change. Like, I'll tell you what, though. We'll see. Oh, by the way, how are they doing? Because we got to do a score update. I haven't checked. I've been so angry about the Dolphins. I haven't checked the scores in a while.
Let's do it after Mike McDaniel, but we got so many callers on here.
I know. Cool. I was just wondering how my guy Cam Ward is doing. The Titans are up 12-10 against the Broncos third quarter. Broncos are favored at home, so I'd love to see the Titans pull this off. But I think I'm raising a Tennessee Titans fan. My 7-year-old son, I mean, we'll see how they actually do. But my 7-year-old son was is such a huge fan of Cam Ward because he entertained the hell out of us for 12 and a half games, literally 12 and a half games last year. My son is a huge fan. He loves the Titans. Like, I don't have the heart to tell him that Restrepo is just on the practice squad and like not on the big team.
You should probably do it now. Little breaking news to him. You got to grow him up a little bit. You got to show him a little how to be a fan at least.
It'll upset him because he's such a huge. If I tell him Restrepo's on the practice, he'll be like, "Why?" Because like I had to tell my son the other day because he's also a big Damian Martinez fan. Martinez was cut by the Seahawks. I don't think they kept him on the practice squad either. When I told my son about that, he was furious. Like he went like full Karen and sent like an angry letter to the Seahawks organization. Like, what do you do? He like a letter to Santa. He wrote a letter to the Seahawks GM. It was really rough.
Oh my!
Oh, man. All right, so let's take a break.
Sunrise.
Steve, you want to go to break? Okay, let's not take a break. Let's talk to Steve in Sunrise. What's up, Steve?
Hey, how you doing, Donno?
Good, Steve. I mean, considering
hey, man.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank you because this is better than texting in. Like, this gives Dolphin fans a voice, and I appreciate you taking calls instead of just having people text in.
Yeah. So a little backstory on that. When I saw how ugly the game was getting, like I was in I'm in a group chat with Trevor, who's producing today, and our fearless leader Len, the program director, and I'm like, please tell me we're able to take calls because people are going to want, and Len, I think Len's response was heck yes in all caps. Like, so we got the green light, Steve.
Well, I appreciate it. 4 points if I can real fast. I want to say on it. I know people are talking about a lot of points, but the first one is this. I was weary when they were talking about how Dolphins were saying that they're staying after practice and they're running and this is the year and they're doing things like that. Anybody who's ever done that, if you have somebody at work who all of a sudden is telling you, well, yeah, I'm finally doing this and that. Anybody who's ever done that, it's not a good thing. I don't want to hear you're staying after practice. You should have been doing that years ago if you wanted to get better. And now all of a sudden you're promoting it. And then they said that Solana said on the pregame that Tyreek Hill made this demonstrative speech, kind of like, hey, I'm not captain, but I'm still in captain mode. And anytime stuff like that happens, it's just a farce. Number two, real quickly, we 4 points. We got lucky with Calais Campbell. We don't have like that fell in our lap. We don't have anybody like that, a leader in a situation like this that would have put these guys in. And I mean, they got run over today, and we need somebody like that again. Number three, think about what you think about this one. Somebody needs to be blamed. I don't know if it's the strength coach, nutrition coach, the conditioning coach, or the head coach himself. But this is a ridiculous amount of players that are going down right and left. I mean, I know this is a tough game. They're way tougher than me. But Donno, these players, we have 20 times more than anybody else. And number 4 point, if you can remember, this offense that always need to be work with a tight end, right? Tight end. We need a Kettle. We need a Kelsey. Well, guess what? The Raiders last year probably found the best tight end, future tight end. It looks like the Colts might have found the best future tight end, and we're using some guy from the Giants who hadn't played in 3 years. If you can remember all 4 points to talk about them. Thank you.
Yeah, and also, of course, we went out and fixed the tight end situation by getting Darren Waller out of retirement, and he's not even healthy enough to play the first game. Like, fixed it, right? Hey. And hey, listen, man, I'm a big Darren Waller fan, or at least I was. The guy put up a lot of fantasy points for me back in the day with the Raiders, but taking tight ends out of retirement is not necessarily the answer at that position. I should have been jotting down notes. Do you remember, Trevor? Do you remember his other 3 points? They were good points. I'm doing a really bad, like, if you throw more than 2 things at me, it all gets jumbled up in my brain.
Someone's need to be a fall guy. I know one of them. Strength and conditioning. Someone needs someone. What's up with that? And the big one for me was like someone needs to be the fall guy for this season. Really, it's
I think listen, we read you a little bit of Barry Jackson's article on why the buck stops with ownership. I think he made a good point that there have been times when Stephen Ross has been patient and kept people around a little longer, which sometimes patience and stability is admirable. Other times patience is foolishness if you keep the wrong people in charge for too long. In terms of like the strength coach stuff, this comes up a lot. Like I can remember, you guys obviously know I cover the Miami Hurricanes really closely. I do Locked On Canes every single day. Yeah, I remember like Mario Cristobal's first year when he took over, they had a lot. I mean, that team just wasn't good, period. But they had a lot of injuries, and a lot of folks were like, it's the strength coach must be terrible. These guys are made of glass, but seems like every year, and they actually now do have a different strength coach this year, but the previous strength coach, Aaron Feld with that crazy mustache, the team got less and less injured progressively the longer he was there. So it's hard to know unless you're at all the strength and conditioning sessions. Like it's hard to point the finger at the strength coach. I think sometimes you've just got to know you are drafting and signing injury-prone players. Isn't that one of Chris Greer's hallmarks? If you're hurt, it's a good chance your phone rings. Chris Greer is on the other end of that phone. Like they seem to target play. And I think why it happens is I think Chris Greer is obsessed with like, I can get better value on this guy. I can pay him a little less coming off injury, or I can give up less in a trade if it's with an injury-prone guy, and we'll fix him here, and it usually doesn't work out. But then, listen, with a guy like Tyreek Hill, he's on the wrong side of 30. So much of his game is predicated on speed. You're going to, when you run the way he runs, you're going to be more prone, I think, to hamstring issues and cramps, which has been part of his problem the last couple of years. And those problems are going to compound the older you get. I don't think that was his issue today, though. I think when he momentarily left the game today, I think they were checking him for a concussion, which he didn't have, so that he came back. So I don't think that was an issue today. But we've seen some of those cramp problems with him. Jalen Waddle has always had issues staying on the field. That's nothing new. And same thing with Tua. Like, are you going to blame this training staff for Tua being hurt all the time when that was an issue for him in college as well? So
I don't think he even knows how to read a medical, honestly. It's like, oh, we could fix him, but it doesn't always work that way,
Yeah, well, I think he's obsessed with the value. Like, oh, I can get this guy at a cut rate deal. It's like when you go to Best Buy and you're like, okay, I can buy that 4K TV that was the floor model, and I can pay a couple $100 less. You don't know if how people treated the floor. If it's a little beat up and stuff, or you get the pre-owned version, like you don't always know what you're getting. But he likes the bargain. He likes the bargain. All right, we're gonna hear when we come back from Miami Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel. I wonder, and again, like same thing when we went into the Tua interview, I didn't pre-listen, didn't read quotes. I don't know what was said. I didn't know what was said by Tua. I don't know what McDaniel said after this one, but I am curious to listen and hear how much accountability is in that. You want to keep it locked right here. Game Day Uncensored Postgame Edition rolls on. By the way, we're brought to you by the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event. We're sponsored by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. Shop over 22 acres of Cadillacs built for luxury and performance at Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. Start your winning drive today at Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. EdmoreSawgrassCadillac.com. And we're brought to you by JM Lexus. JM Lexus has the best team in the business, a 4.8 Google rating with over 22,000 reviews and counting. JM Lexus, West Sample Road in Margate. We'll continue on FM 104.3 WQAM.
UAM broadcasting live from the Edmore Sawgrass Auto Mall Studios. Shop massive.
Of any show you might have missed anytime.
Now, let's get back to the Gameday Uncensored postgame show on FM 104.3 WQAM, Miami's sports leader.
It's got to the point in the live YouTube chat where people are talking about how the Dolphins should turn to Quinn Ewers to be the new starter. I'm a fan of Ewers. Maybe that's the type of move you make a few weeks from now or several weeks from now if you're clearly falling out of playoff contention. Give him an opportunity, give him part of the season for an audition. This team's not. I'm not going to be ridiculous here. There's the same way you can't fire Mike McDaniel after week one. You're not going to bench Tua after week one just for the sake of it. But if a month and a half from now, the straits are dire and you're like a 0-win or a 1-win team, 6-7 wins into the season, then all bets are off. And that means the employment of your current head coach is up for grabs. The employment of your current general manager and other members of the front office are up for grabs at that point. And yeah, if you've got nothing else to play for, you turn the page and see what the rookie can do. We're not anywhere near that point yet. I'm glad Quinn Ewers is a Dolphin though, because I said it at the time. I should have believed it, given the last name of their next quarterback in Texas and the NIL packages that he was earning. But it was a weird situation for Ewers in Texas, because I think he wanted to play there another year. Like, he wanted to play there and finish what he started. They got pretty close to a championship last year with Ewers at the helm, playoff team the last 2 years. And a guy going into his senior year, but Texas essentially forced him out because they had recruited Arch Manning, who was the top quarterback in the country. A lot of that had to do with the family that he was born into, but the top recruit in the country, and he was making more NIL than most of the starting quarterbacks in major college football. They had to force Ewers out. I mean, I say they had to. They didn't have to, but they chose to force Ewers out because they needed to turn the page to Arch. And if Quinn Ewers was still a Longhorn, that team might be 2-0 right now, because I don't know if they lose that Ohio. For as good as I think Ohio State is, I don't think Texas loses that game, if not for the rookie mistakes that Arch Manning made. He looked a lot better week 2, but they played against nobody. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm happy that it worked out that Quinn Ewers is now a Miami Dolphin, but it is not his time, at least not yet. All right, let's hear from Miami Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel. I'm genuinely curious as to what he had to say after that 33-8 loss.
Yeah, I think in the National Football League, when you're -3 plus turnover on downs, you run into the kicker, you across the board, that's not a formula. And so that formula is for failure and nothing else. And I think, there was a lot of preparation for week 1, and I don't think it looked it. What does that mean? That means that guys let week 1 and the bells and whistles of the season starting get the best of them. My job is to prevent that. I did my best, not good enough. So you have 2 games in 11 days, and that's what you do with it. The National Football League teaches tough lessons. I think we're a much better team than we played today, or than we displayed today, but that doesn't matter either. You have to play good football. So when you play bad football, you have 20 minutes less of time of possession. You don't take the ball away. You don't put them in the offense in negative situations. You don't take care of the ball. It's a young team having to learn some very hard lessons, and that's what the league's about. It's all about the ebbs and flows. You can't overcook a success, and you can't overcook a failure. You have to continue to learn from things and look at the tape, and it will be a very, very critical day tomorrow to be accountable so that we can with absolute certainty learn from it. Otherwise, you just sit in this, and I don't think that's an option. So we got 2 games in 11 days, no time to sulk. But yes, it was not the way I think our team wanted things to go, for sure, and they got some strong humility today.
But losing the way you did today, does that make the challenge that much harder for you?
In circumstances it can. I think in this circumstance, I think it's, it's very black and white and obvious, more so than I would like, just to the players, of the things that we've worked on, the way we've looked, their technique and fundamentals, and how they were lacking in the game. So there's week one, regardless, you're either crowned or shunned. And that's something that, I think we have in our own control, the observation of how things play out. If you take your, I think quite honestly, the way we lost probably is an overall better way to learn an absolute lesson that never changes. If you ever let the game be bigger, or the desire for achievement to be bigger than the nuts and bolts of execution, and not dropping people in protection, not overrunning tackles, these things, you're going to have those results. But, I think the biggest thing is that, our captains, I think understand, they could feel it during the game. And, I'm very motivated to get together with the team, watch the tape, and, keep it real and get ready for our next opponent, home game against the New England Patriots, because they're not going to feel sorry for us in the least, nor should they. Yeah, like I said before, I don't see this job void of pressure. I don't see entitlement in this job. But, I'm not. I think the most important thing is that I worry about doing my job. So I think that's what the team will get from me for sure. Without watching the tape, it was something that it was left to be desired. I think it's definitely not all on him. There's just throws that I know he makes 9 times out of 10, and he didn't make them today. But that being said, it's hard to play quarterback when you have surprise pressures, meaning that they're blitzing, but you think it's accounted for, and then somebody doesn't pick it up, or you have people coming out the huddle the wrong way when they had been nailing it for a week on a week plus, really, stuff we've been working on. So it's like the rest of the team, I would say, but definitely not all on him at all. There's too many people that failed at their execution of their jobs for him to even have any extra on his shoulders. But I would say that it, like the rest of the team, wasn't good enough to win football games in the National Football League, and I think that was obvious.
By the way, we're listening to Miami Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel after the Dolphins 33-8 loss in Indianapolis.
Well, there was
take a little more.
There wasn't a theme. There was one play where there was a really just a mental mistake of going the wrong way from a lineman. That was probably the only one. I thought they played solid, but it wasn't that it was that exotic. It was that running back or receiver didn't do the responsibility on the play that we emphasized a lot. What does that mean? That means that guys weren't focused on the right things, and the most difficult thing as a coach is you can see focus, but you don't know what's going on inside a person's mind. And then sometimes you find out the hard way, like we did today. So it was just collective execution on things that were surprising me live speed. So I think guys needed, obviously they needed to experience that, and we have a choice. We can change it, or we can be the same. But yeah, I don't think this locker room and the collection of players is based upon my interactions with them. The taste is terrible, and they're eager to fix it. So we'll come back to work tomorrow and start the process again on what we should have this week. And we have 11 days, 2 games, 2 division opponents. So the time is now to focus in on our jobs. And if we want different results, we have to play football together in a different manner.
Well, we'll cut it off right there because I don't know how many more times he can say the same things over. And I'm not even blaming that on him, because when you're a reporter in that situation, there's only so many different ways to ask him, why did your team suck today? Like, there's only so many different ways to ask that. And part of it, he was asked about Tua, and, he mentioned that, you can't put all the blame or an extra amount of blame on Tua when so many other people failed at their jobs today. To an extent, I get it. We, for obvious reasons, fans, media, we hold the quarterback position to a different standard because they play the most important position. They touch the football on every offensive play, and so much of it is dictated by the quarterback. But he's not wrong to say that if the 10 other guys on the field are not doing their jobs, it could be harder for Tua to do his job. But that's in no way to say that Tua played well today or that his performance was excusable. I think he was just saying everybody played poorly. So McDaniel didn't want to magnify Tua's failures when there were failures across the board. I think that's what he meant to say. But in no way am I saying, and I don't think he was saying, that Tua was good today. I think he just didn't want Tua to take extra heat from his explanation as to why the team was so bad. He wanted equal heat across the board. Some of the other comments from McDaniel, he thought that his players let the week 1 bells and whistles of the season starting get to them. He did mention, it's my job to make sure that doesn't happen. I think it's everybody's job to make sure that doesn't happen. I mean, for you know who didn't let the week 1 bells and whistles get to him? The rookie tight end on the Indianapolis Colts, playing his first ever NFL game, Tyler Warren. He didn't seem to have any problems playing at the highest level of football for the first time. So you're telling me that the Dolphins have guys in their 5th, 6th, 7th years, 4th years as professional football players, and that moment was too big for them? Too big for them. It wasn't too big for Tyler Warren. And I guess for him, he gets the benefit of playing at home for the first time, but I don't think any part of that is excusable on the Dolphins side. And he mentioned the National Football League teaches tough lessons. Will you learn from those lessons, though, would be my follow-up question. All right, we got a lot more coming up. We're going to hear from Tyreek Hill a little bit later on as well, who is, what is he? He's the undercover captain. He's not a captain, but he's still approaching it with that big captain energy this year. So we'll hear from the undercover captain, Tyreek Hill. You want to keep it locked right here. We still got another 50 minutes, by the way. We're on with you guys till 7:30. We'll open up the phone lines again later on as well. So 305-567-0560 is how you get in. 305-567-0560. We're here on Gameday Uncensored Postgame Edition on FM 104.3 WQAM.
Every Miami
Or you can listen to WQAM on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps. Check it out now.
Now, let's get back to the Game Day Uncensored postgame show on FM 104.3 WQAM, Miami's sports leader.
I appreciate everyone being in here and sticking with us throughout what's not been a fun. I think this is a very necessary show to talk about this Dolphins humiliation today. As a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan, none of this has been fun for me, but I think it's important that I vent. I give you guys an opportunity to vent because, as we said at the top of the show, this feels more, and I know, Mike McDaniel and everyone would tell you otherwise, that, hey, we're back at it next week. We've got 2 games in 11 days, big opportunities coming up. We got the Patriots coming up. So yeah, it's easy for them to say that this is just one loss. It felt to us, Dolphin fans, long-suffering Dolphin fans, like more than that. Like this loss felt like a reflection on management, on coaching, not having your team prepared, on your players that you've literally invested millions of dollars in, on not being ready for week 1, not executing, playing with what looked to us like a lack of heart. I don't know how you could argue that they did play with heart today. So this feels like an indictment on the entire franchise and the direction it's going in. It feels like more than one loss. We already got a lot of people in our chat and on social media calling for John Gruden.
Again, by the way.
What's that?
Full phone lines, by the way. The Hounds are back.
All right, the Hounds are back. But before we open them up, a couple things I want to do here. I want to hear. We'll do a scoreboard in a minute because we haven't gone through. We've been so angry about the Dolphins. We haven't gone through the NFL scores. But first, let's hear from the undercover captain, Tyreek Hill.
I don't know, man. It was just one of those rough days, for our team. We just gotta, watch the film, correct the correctables, and come back next week and play ball.
Was this a situation where you could kind of feel the lack of reps over the past month kind of manifest on the field?
Oh, nah, not for me. I was still moving fast. I was moving good in and out of my route, so I felt great, man. Obviously, timing wise, the first throw that we had, I wish the connection was there, but I mean, it'll get there with time. We obviously know what we gotta, fix and get better at. So that's what we're gonna continue to attack.
Was it more things that they did to throw you guys off, or was it more you guys not executing?
I would say us, man, because at the end of the day, it all falls on us. Granted, those guys, have a great defensive coordinator. Those guys have, some great players on that side of the ball. But I feel like at the end of the day, it falls on us, man. Offensively, receivers, we got to get open. We got to attack the line of scrimmage, separate, attack edges, and we got to protect Tua. That's the main thing, man. So I feel like we will get better at that. This was a big, kicking the balls, for us. So I feel like next week we'll be better.
How do you explain how disheartening is it? You guys have months and months to prepare. You gear up for it, and it just falls so flat.
Great question. I don't know, man. It's the National Football League. Everybody's good. Indianapolis Colts, I mean, they had our number today, man. And like I said, next week we just got to move on from it. Well, we got to watch the tape first, get better, and we'll come back next week. Hoping to strike up the band more.
I know it's 1 of 17. Does
Mhm.
a loss like this make it harder to accept that, or does veteran wisdom tell you to do this thing?
I mean, we always got to keep it in perspective. The biggest goal was to go undefeated, but so we can't do that no more. So, like I said, we just got to keep attacking. Everybody, keep open minds to wanting to get better every week, and just execute as a team. This is just a huge adversity moment for us. I feel like so. We got a bunch of great leaders on this team, captains and leadership, who will do a great job of keeping the standard as the practice week go on. So I feel like we're in a real good shape.
All right. Well, I was glad to hear Tyreek say that he felt great today. That makes one of us. I'm glad you felt physically great out there. It didn't exactly show on the field. All right, let's take a look around the National Football League. So it wasn't just our Dolphins. There were a bunch of other teams that lost today. It wasn't just us. Oh, I love the NFL music behind us. All right, so this one is in progress. I think you know who I'm rooting for in this one. Close game, low-scoring game in Denver. Broncos lead the Tennessee Titans 13-12. Not an easy opponent for Cam Ward's regular season NFL debut. So far for Ward, 10 for 20, 99 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. So he's not exactly lighting up the stat sheet. Bo Nix on the other side, 20 for 33, 145 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. So neither quarterback is faring that great. At least Cam hasn't turned the football over. But we'll see if the Titans can pull off the Week 1 upset on the road in Denver. They trail 13-12, early first quarter there in the Mile High City. Seahawks lead fourth quarter. Sorry, what did I say?
You said first quarter.
Thank you, Trevor. I've been doing this way too long today, complaining about the Miami Dolphins. All right, so that one's in the fourth quarter. So is Seahawks hosting the 49ers. That one is late fourth quarter, 3:19 to go. Another low-scoring game. Seattle leads 13-10, but the 49ers are driving. Brock Purdy has them down to the 22-yard line of Seattle. So good chance the 49ers will at the very least hit a field goal to tie it up. If not, potential go-ahead touchdown, trailing by 3. 2.5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter of that one. And the Detroit Lions are not looking good today. Green Bay Packers at home all over Detroit, 24-6. Jordan Love, 16 for 22, 188 passing yards, 2 touchdowns so far in that one. Early fourth quarter, Lions Packers, by the way, is midway through the fourth, 6:37 to go. Early fourth quarter, Los Angeles Rams lead the Houston Texans 14-9 at home. Matthew Stafford 16-23, 189 yards and a touchdown there. Coming up tonight, 8:20 p.m. Hey, hopefully the Bills lose tonight, right? Baltimore favored in Buffalo by 1.5 points on the road. 8:20 p.m. tonight in Buffalo. Baltimore Ravens, Bills, 2 contenders potentially for the AFC Championship later on this season. Final scores from earlier. Tampa Bay Buccaneers pull it out against the Atlanta Falcons 23-20. Cincinnati Bengals outlast the Cleveland Browns 17-16. Despite Joe Flacco going 290 yards and a touchdown in that one. Las Vegas Raiders beat the New England Patriots 20-13. The Dolphins are not alone in last place at the AFC East. In fact, the Dolphins are tied for second place right now in the division, pending what happens. You could be tied for first by the end of the night tonight, because the Patriots lost 20-13. Did to have at least one made field goal from my guy Andy Borregales. Hold on, let me check the New England kicking stats there. Okay, Andy Borregales went 2 for 3 today and 1 for 1 on extra points. So Andy did miss one. Could have been worse though. His team did lose. All right, so elsewhere, the Cardinals over the Saints in New Orleans, 20-13. Steelers outlasted the Jets, 34-32. That was a thrilling game in the Meadowlands, and former Miami Dolphin Jalen Ramsey had the game-sealing tackle, forced fumble takeaway during the Jets' final drive where they were trying to take the lead. And thank goodness we got rid of Jalen Ramsey. He was such a huge problem, apparently. All he did was make the game-sealing tackle and forced fumble in Pittsburgh. Seems like he's doing okay over there so far. The Washington Commanders, 21-6 winners today against the New York Football Giants. Remember the Dolphins, when the Dolphins play the Commanders later this season, that game is going to be in Spain. My apologies to Spain in advance for sending the Dolphins to your fine country.
No, there's nothing worse than last year than Panthers Giants. We should apologize for that last year.
But that wasn't in Spain though. That was somewhere else in Europe, right?
That was in Germany. That's an albatross of a football matchup. This one's not terrible.
Well, listen, the Germans took their lumps last year. I feel bad for Spain this year. They deserve better than our Miami Dolphins, I think. We're going to create an international incident by sending the Dolphins over there. We want them to support football instead of football. That's not exactly the way to do it. All right, so the Jaguars over the Panthers, 26-10. On Thursday night, Philadelphia Eagles. Trevor's very happy about this. They outlast the Cowboys 24-20. Thankfully, CD Lamb gave me some fantasy points despite the way he finished that game. So the defending Super Bowl champs are victorious against their division rivals. Los Angeles Chargers on Friday night on YouTube beat the Chiefs 27-21. Justin Herbert, we could have drafted him. We didn't. 25 for 34, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns in that victory. And the Monday night game is going to be a nice NFC North rivalry in Soldier Field. The Chicago Bears will host the Minnesota Vikings Monday night, 8:15 p.m. So that'll be Monday night. Remember, we have the Sunday night game. I think the Sunday night game is even better. Bills hosting the Baltimore Ravens. So I'm looking forward to those in prime time coming up. All right, we're going to the phone lines are absolutely wild. They've been rocking and rolling for the past 3 hours. We still have another 37 minutes to go. We're going to reopen the phone lines when we come back, and tell me how you really feel. All that I ask you is please do not curse. That's all I ask, because I know the show is called Gameday Uncensored, and we call it that because we don't hold back. You want to vent, you want to complain, we don't have to, censor ourselves when talking about the Dolphins like some others do. Because you got to toe the company line. I don't know how you toe the company line after what happened today. It was an absolute debacle. It was a debacle on all parts. And Trevor, help me out here. I think the only silver lining coming out of this is that it's literally just one game, and that
is your silver lining.
That is silver lining.
It's that the Jets lost for you guys, so you guys are happy about the Patriots lost to the Raiders and
the Bills might lose tonight. I mean, Baltimore is really good. Wouldn't shock me.
It's also Ralph Wilson Stadium's final year. They're going to go out on a bang anyways. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's right. How nice is their I know their new stadium is not going to be a dome, which was very important because they want to have their awful weather as an advantage.
You've never been to a true snow game up in Buffalo or awful rainy game.
I have never full disclosure, I have never been to a snowy sporting event in my entire life. I think the coldest sporting event I ever went to was this was years ago, a Miami at Georgia Tech game in Atlanta in November, and it was kind of cold, but it was in like the high 30s maybe. It wasn't snowing or anything like that. Coldest I've ever been in a game.
I've been in many cold games. That's all I could say.
You're from up north, so it comes with. I mean, I've lived a charmed life down here. I live down in the greatest state in the nation, down here in Florida. I mean, we have to deal with the heat, but I don't mess with that cold nonsense. All right, 7:00 hour coming up. Miami Dolphins lose 33-8. You're listening to Gameday Uncensored postgame on FM 104.3 WQAM.
When you own your own business, own every decision. Catch the red eye or take the 6
1043.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
The game is ended, and now we begin. It's Game Day Uncensored, Postgame edition. Real talk, real reaction, real opinions for real Miami football fans on FM 104.3 WQAM, Miami sports leader.
Yes, welcome back into Game Day Uncensored Postgame edition. We are brought to you by a lot of great folks on this episode. The Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Learn more at Lexus.com. We're brought to you by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. Shop over 22 acres of Cadillacs built for luxury and performance at Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. Start your game-winning drive today at Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac, EdmoreSawgrassCadillac.com. And we're brought to you by JM Lexus. JM Lexus has the best team in the business, a 4.8 Google rating with over 22,000 reviews and counting. JM Lexus, West Sample Road in Margate. All right, I want to finish out strong with some calls after your Miami Dolphins got embarrassed in their opening game. And, you know, we go back to what Mike McDaniel said about he felt that the guys let week one and the bells and whistles of the season starting get to them, which it's inexcusable in every way possible. This is Mike McDaniel's fourth year as head coach. He should be able to prepare his guys for that moment. This is a team with enough veterans on there. I mean, you know, Tyreek Hill has been in the league in a long time. Tua's in his sixth season. You know, the alleged leadership in that locker room should have their teammates ready, and they should be ready themselves for the bells and whistles that come with week one. I think it's absurd. All right, Trevor, I'll let you guide me through this. You let me know where you want to go on the phone line.
Let's go to Jackson from South Carolina. You're on the Game Day Uncensored postgame.
Yo, what's up? How you guys doing?
Hey, Jackson. It sounds like you're doing better than me. You've got your whole life in front of you. I'm washed.
Yeah. There's like three people to blame here for the Dolphins. So number one's Chris Greer. Number two's Mike McDaniel. And number three, the owner, Stephen Ross, because he went from the top all the way down to the bottom. We traded for Tyreek Hill, who was a solid wide receiver, didn't get any targets for the Chiefs, and it's just unbelievable. And I'm like, oh my God, we traded for Tyreek Hill. That's like really good and a good wide receiver. But the problem is, look who all the quarterbacks that we could have drafted. Joe Burrow, we could have tanked more better for Joe Burrow. Could have got Justin Herbert. Oh. We could have got Lamar Jackson. Instead, we got Christian Wilkins. And it's just unbelievable. And, like, Joe Burrow, like, he's confident. And, like, all the other, like, quarterbacks are very confident in themselves. Because, like, Joe Burrow was on a podcast, and he's like, this guy asked him, hey, I don't know where your confidence comes from. And he's like, it's not cocky, but it's confident. And he's like, yeah, because it comes from preparation. And that's what Tua's not doing. Tua needs to, like, get him to, like, preparation, like, to work harder and harder to try to make a Super Bowl. Because right now, he's not the quarterback that's going to lead us to a Super Bowl. Like, this is crazy. And he had 3 turnovers today. One was on the first drive. The second one, he fumbled. And then the third one, he had a bad option. And this is just crazy. And I'm really in shock how we performance today. But it is what it is, man. We're going to lose sometime. We can't win all the games, man. We're going to lose sometime. But
I hope we win some of them. I appreciate the call, Jackson. That was that's a future WQAM host right there. He made more concise points in those 3 minutes than I've made in the past 3 hours.
Wild. All right, let's go to Rossing Lexington. He was at the game, by the way.
Oh, hey, Ross.
Hey, Alex, I know how to pickle, man. I went to, my wife and I, for our anniversary, went to The Rock last year and saw the Titans game on Monday Night Football. So we're on a roll here, 2 in a row.
Do me a favor, Ross, and do not go to any Miami Hurricanes games and do not go to any more Miami Dolphins games.
Yeah, well, I've been coming up here since the Colts were in the AFC East, and we got to see a lot of wins when Marino was quarterback, when we actually had a quarterback. So it's frustrating, man. But Ross is definitely. I agree with Barry Jackson. It's time to quit blaming Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel. The guy at the top can make the changes anytime he wants to, and he's not doing it. And it's just disappointing that, I mean, you should have seen the amount of Dolphins fans there today, Alex. I mean, with the team that has not won a playoff game in 25 years in Indianapolis, and how many, I mean, there were a ton of Miami Dolphins fans. We didn't have one thing to cheer about today. Not one thing. We couldn't get up and holler one time about anything, man. And I'm talking about week one, when everybody's supposed to be healthy, you're supposed to be fully prepared. I mean, I don't understand it, man. It's mind blowing how pitiful this organization is right now. But last point I'll just make is that you kind of get ridiculed. Like I listen to Joe and listen to your old evening show for years. I've been listening to QAM. And it's like, yeah, absolutely, we love it, but it keeps us informed when we're not from down there. But the thing of it is they make fun of the fans and the media and all these podcasters who are right, who have been calling it all off season. They have been sitting here saying this is the exact thing that we were worried about. And it's like the multi-million-dollar organization that has the scouting department and that goes and watches these kids in college and everything else. They can't identify it, but the people who follow the team and the common folk out here watching on their TVs are calling it. I mean, it's just frustrating. Thanks for letting us vent, Alex. Y'all.
It is. And listen, part of it, like I can't speak for everybody who does what I do for a living. I can't. And obviously I've done a lot of complaining for the last 3 hours and 9 minutes. How can you not? I like to try and gravitate towards positivity. That's who I am. Impossible to do it today, but I try to gravitate towards positivity. Sometimes when you're covering a team and you're very close to it, the way obviously, and I don't cover the Dolphins day to day anymore. I used to, in terms of like going out to practices and stuff. I don't do that in the last few years. I know obviously people like Joe and people like Omar Kelly and Joe Shad and company do that. And, it's when they paint a picture of it, they're in there, they're in the trenches, they're seeing what's going on. And we all do the best we can, right? Same thing I do the best I can, covering the Miami Hurricanes every single day on Locked On Canes. And like on that side of it, listen, I've been wrong before. I didn't expect the 2022 Miami Hurricanes to be 5-7 bad that year. I thought that they could have a decent season. They didn't. So far this year, I'm feeling pretty good because a lot of the stuff that I was observing, talking Canes here for a second, in training camp and practices, a lot of the stuff that I observed, I've actually, a broken clock is right twice a day. I feel like I've been right about a lot of the proclamations I've made about that. So it's not easy. Like when you're in there every single day covering a team, sometimes the people who are far from it and do the podcast, sometimes they are right about that stuff. It's the nature of football. But certainly the ones who were negative about these Miami Dolphins are the ones that were right about that today. All right, who else we got on the phone lines?
Grant from H-Town. Here we go.
Hey, fellas. I sure appreciate you letting us have this forum to vent. It is shocking to me that you spend almost an entire calendar year and they are that unprepared.
Right?
Really, really disappointing.
I don't know if we lost him, but he is right to be really, really disappointed.
Yeah,
he is right. We got
Alejandro from Hollywood. He's on hold. He's on the line now. Go.
Hey, Alex, I wanted to thank you for all the therapy sessions. Now it's my turn.
Yeah, man. I've done so many post games over the last few because I used to do by the way, this is Dan Day's show. I'm filling in today and next week, but this is Dan Day's show. But I used to do these Dolphins post games regularly. I've done Hurricanes post games regularly. I've been through some very tough losses. So this job makes you a therapist after a certain point.
Yeah, I've been going to Dolphin games since the Orange Bowl when I was a wee lad. And this is, since I can remember, the worst that I've seen them. The game looked like JV versus the varsity scrimmage. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones looked like the best quarterback in the NFL, and their defense looked like the Iron Curtain. It was really bad. However, I'm going to look at it on the positive side. The positive side is that if this continues, Mike McDaniel is going to be gone, and he's going to be in Cancun under an umbrella. And then after that, we got to remember that going forward, since I don't think we're going to do very well this year, we're going to have a high draft choice, and coming up, there's going to be a good quarterback heavy draft, and maybe we could find our quarterback of the future finally. But at the same time, Mr. Ross needs to acknowledge that he needs to clean house, and it has to start from the top, all the way from Chris Grier to Mike McDaniel, and probably get rid of some of the players as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the call. And, that was a good call. But like when he painted it in, like, the positive is if it stays like this, we're going to fire McDaniel and all that. Man, I've been doing this and not just doing this, meaning like doing shows and stuff, but I've been doing this as a fan of, the Dolphins, the Hurricanes and everything for long enough where the joy that I used to get when a head coach gets fired, after a certain point, it diminishes a little bit because, okay, like I remember being really happy the day that Dave Wanstead got fired, right? And they replaced him with Nick Saban. And Nick Saban, the lying turd that he was, left us for the Alabama job. Not that he was doing that great when he left. And then, you go to Cam Cameron, which was a complete failure. We're so happy the day he gets fired. And then Tony Sperano, same thing. He didn't get the job done. You're happy when he gets fired. And Joe Philbin, same thing. Adam Gase, Brian Flores. So all this to say, I've seen this happen so many times where, and I'm not saying, you should keep Mike McDaniel for however much longer. That's not what I'm saying. But the joy that you used to get when a coach got fired, it diminishes when we've gotten the next hire wrong so many times. It's always in the back of my mind that, hey, it's really easy to fire a head coach who's failing. The hard part is finding the right guy to replace them. This organization has gotten that wrong so many different times. Whenever that day comes, whether it's a month from now or, in January, if that day comes when Mike McDaniel gets fired, I know Dolphin fans, if assuming the team is terrible this year as they were today, Dolphin fans will be really happy. Oh, this is great. We fired this guy. You're going to be so excited for the next head coach. But then what happens when you get that hire wrong? So I'm so weathered by this whole process that I just don't have the same joy after firing head coaches that I used to have. Because here's the question. I would love to answer this. Do you trust this organization if they fire Mike McDaniel to get it right next time around?
No.
I mean, certainly not if you have the same GM. You need to make that change too. All right, Trevor, we got anybody else we can go to?
We got
here?
a lot. I want to make sure we get through these guys. Reggie
right.
was at the game, so it's lightning round time. Reggie, come in and come out.
Listen, I want to talk about you got those idiots that's calling in and they bashing my Dolphins up to 60 minutes of football. Don't you know that we have 1,020 minutes of football every season? Let me tell you, in the last 10 years, 153 teams that have won their first game have never been to the Super Bowl. 7 of them have. 2 of them have won. And you bash my Dolphins like it's just a team that's playing high school sports. And I'm going to tell you this. I heard you say something too, Donno, about Spain. We sending our team to Spain, and you're going to be so sorry that we sending a product like that over there. But you're going to be sorry, too, because when adversity hits, it starts from the doggone, the owner, the manager, the coaches, the players, even the fans. When you face adversity, you have to know who you are, and they're going to describe your character. And for all you so-called Dolphin fans that's jumping off the bandwagon after 60 minutes, when we have 980 minutes to play, you might as well jump on the doggone Titanic, and we know how that ended. And with that being said, I'm out of here, man.
Hey, man, listen, I hope he's right. I'm not sure if I agreed with a single word he said, but I hope he's right. I will also add in, I'm I'm going to be a fan of this team for better or for worse for the rest of my life. That's not going to change. So, I mean, you know, there probably are some people jumping off the bandwagon. I mean, I would love nothing more than for my 7-year-old son to be as big of a Dolphin fan as I am. Or maybe I shouldn't, because I've been through a lot over the last almost 41 years. But, you know, I'm not jumping off any bandwagon, right? And we got however many, was it like 1,000 minutes of football left to play? I hope the next 1,000 go a lot better than the previous 60 is all I'm going to say. But you know what? I wish I could feel the same way that he did after that game. Let's go to the next caller. Who we got next?
Mark in Miramar. In and out because it's lightning round time.
Lightning round. Mark.
Hello?
Hey.
Hello?
You're
hey,
on.
We're here.
Round.
How are you, Mark?
Yes. I'm good. You know what? That caller, I am with that caller because guess what?
Okay.
I'm with that caller that just you just have online just now. Because guess what? The Dolphin fans are like this. They are after the fact talker. Justin Herbert have this problem coming out of college that people didn't want to pick him. Now we're talking after the fact. We have Dan Campbell down here, was an intern coach, and they say get rid of him. We can't use him. He's no good. No, he's out of here and he's coaching the Lions and he's doing so good. No, we hand that bandwagon. Now listen to me. Anytime the Dolphins lose, we have these old people coming up on the line. Oh, I'm 60 years I haven't. Dolphins have not win a playoff game. Please. 60 years you're going to put it on tour? You're going to put 60 years of losing playoff games or win a playoff games on tour? You can't do that. These guys are not, these guys are what, 20, 25, 29 years old? Are you going to put 60 years of not winning football games on them?
No, I can't put 60 years on Tua, but I can put 6 years on him, and I can put 10 years on Chris Greer and 4 years on McDaniel. That's all I can do.
Yeah, that's all you could do.
I mean, we got 2 positive calls in a row, though. Like still high on the team. Let's get 1 or 2 more before we get out of here.
Will
we got?
Phoenix and Will, you're on the air.
Yo, guys, thank God that you're doing this show. It's like Dr. Phil.
Yeah, man. And you know what? I'm as much of a medical doctor as he is, I think. I don't think he's got an MD, so I've got the same qualifications.
And you know what the thing is? I went out and bought this big-ass TV, 85-inch TV, to watch this game, and it opened my eyes. We got the 2 fastest receivers in football and can't even throw a deep pass the whole game. Not even one attempt to do it. And it's really sad. And, you know, for them not to do that, it's unbelievable. You have a fastest receivers in football, and you can't even call one deep play?
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me? It's all coaching. This coaching staff cannot adjust. No matter what they do, you're going to see the same thing over and over and over, no matter what they say. And Tua's like, well, I want to see who's in the game room and film room with me. Why do you care? You need to correct your crap, dude. You're throwing grenades across the field. And if I'm a team, all you got to do is blitz them every down. He can't handle blitzes. He cannot pick anything up. And every pass they have has to be in motion across the middle. These linebackers are sitting in these windows now just waiting for him. And Alec Ingle, sorry, nice guy, but he's not a good fullback. We need to get these guys out of here, draft a tight end, draft a fullback, get a guys that can play football, man. And this crap's just getting old, man. And my wife came in and said, you bought that TV to watch this crap? Like, I got the Canes, baby. That's all we got. So let's go Canes.
Yeah, I was watching the early part of the game with my son, and he was so upset. He just wanted to play video games. So I went into a different room to watch the game and suffer by myself. I didn't want to put him through that. Who else we got? Who else we got, Trevor?
Let's go to Robert from West Palm Beach. Rob, you're on the air.
Hi. I have a quote that I think is apropos for this occasion. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a musician, and I was in a band when I was very young, and one of the guy's fathers gave us a quote to live by, because we used to rehearse every day for 3-4 hours a day to learn harmonies and learn songs. And the quote is regarding management. It says, "You always meet the crisis with the habits of the usual." So obviously this management was not prepared. You always meet the crisis with the habits of the usual. I think that says it all.
That's a great quote, and it reminds me, I don't think I've ever heard that one. You always meet the crisis with the habits of the usual. It reminds me, I think it's in the same spirit of what Coach Cristobal always says in Coral Gables: how you do anything is how you do everything. I think those are two
pretty much the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
two
think that-
snazzy quotes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I was 17 when I heard that quote, and I'm past 70 now, and it's been a part of my life, my whole life. And I think it's one of the greatest quotes I've ever heard.
That's a fantastic quote, and it really is true, because the habits that you go through each and every day is going to set the tone for how you handle crisis. Thank you for the call, Trevor. Do you think we can hit one more before we get out of here?
All right, we're gonna go rapid fire. So in, out, point, and we're gonna go.
All right.
Let's do Damien in Hollywood. You're on the air. Rapid fire.
Hey,
go.
guys. I'm just laughing. Thanks for taking the call, that guy. I love the optimism, but numbers don't lie. When you have 25 years of inconsistency and there's a pattern, there's a similarity with reality and fantasy. They both end in Y, but one is real and one is fake. And until you do a change, look what the Panthers did in '96. They made it to the Stanley Cup. They decided to make a change 2 years in a row. They win the Stanley Cup. I can afford for the Panthers to open this season losing, because guess what? They've proven themselves. This team keeps like a rat in a circle, keeps spinning over and over. And until you make that change, you're only going to see what you see. And that's it. That's it. You got to need to make a change, man. It starts from the top. And Steven Ross is busy making money with Formula One and tennis tournaments. So, hey, the fans got to stop showing up on a Sunday. Stop spending your money. Don't react. Respond. Thanks for taking a call.
Thank you. Yeah, everyone said, I haven't been to the Formula One race. Everyone says how expensive it is. So it's like I'm going to save up big this year so I can go next year.
All right, Ed. Last call. Make it proud. In, out, lightning round. Go.
Hey, listen, I'm tired of them hiding the next wonder kid coordinator. Ever since after Saban, that's all they hire. Hire a coach, not a guy that's going to call the offense, not a guy that's going to call the defense, a guy who's going to coach the team. There's plenty of out there head coach types. Enough of these wonder kid coordinators. We need a hard-ass coach to take us forward.
And I think on that note, Trevor, I think that's probably the way that they're going to go. And hopefully it's someone with actual relevant head coaching experience. Because, like, okay, they hired Flores, who fit that mold. Maybe they didn't stick with him for long enough, but he was a coordinator, assistant coach. But I think they will hire a hard ass next time around, because they tend to go the opposite way every time. Like when the nicer guy fails, you go with the disciplinarian. When that fails, you go back to the nice. So I do think the next coach, for what it's worth, hopefully they get the right one, is probably going to be a hard ass. All right, that'll do it for us. Huge thank you to Trevor, doing awesome stuff in the studio. Were you a one-man crew today, Trevor? Anybody help you out today?
It's a one-man show today. That's what it was. I was getting the interviews, helping you screen these calls. Dolphin fans, I know it's week 1. I love the passion. Bring it next week, too. Me and Donno are here, by the way. So I want to say, if it's bad next week, light up these phone lines, please.
Yeah, and we got Sunday Night Football coming up, which is a really good game. Baltimore at Buffalo. You're going to hear it right here on 104.3 FM WQAM next.
Clear AM, broadcasting live from the Ed Moore